turn my mic off. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
I would like to welcome you to the Dania Beach City Commission regular meeting. Today is Tuesday, September 25th, and it's 7 o'clock p.m. Call the roll, please.
Mayor James.
Here.
Vice Mayor Harris.
Here.
Commissioner Brandemart.
Here.
Commissioner Grace.
Here.
Commissioner Salvino.
Here.
Assistant City Manager Donnelly.
Here.
City Attorney Ansbro.
Here.
Thank you.
Can you please bow your heads for a moment of silence? Thank you, and can you please stand for the pledge? Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right. I'm going to turn it over to Commissioner Brandon Marty, who has something to read and present.
Yes, okay. Good evening, everybody. On Saturday, the Saturday that just passed, we were all invited to something called Global Year of Sisterhood, the Heart of It All, by Zeta Phi Beta Sorority Incorporated, Delta Eta Zeta chapter, and it was in Hollywood. And it was at a venue that I found to be beautiful. I wasn't even aware that it existed on Harrison Street. And it was all done in blue and white. In fact, when I went to bed that night, I saw blue and white all night long. I didn't know it was supposed to be blue and white, or I would have worn it, so I apologize. But what we were there for was something that was so exciting, because our own commissioner, Bobby Grace, she was honored there. She was honored for distinguished public service. And I'd like to, this was the invitations. They're even blue and white. Okay. All right. This is a little long, but in essence, it should be even longer, because they almost apologized at the beginning because they didn't have another paper to finish all of her accomplishments, and which made us all very proud that we're there. Mrs. Bobby Hutchins Grace, Commissioner, City of Dania Beach. Bobby Hutchins was born on I have to say that? Well, anyway, for all of you that don't know her bio, here it goes. Bobby Hutchins was born on September the 29th, 1945 in Donaldsville, Georgia, to Willie Calvin Hutchins Sr. and the late Helen William Hutchins. She has two siblings, a sister and brother. Bobby attended Attucks Middle School and graduated from Attucks High School in 1963. She married James Allen Grace, and this union has lasted for 55 years. That's long. Bobby and James are the proud parents of two daughters, Denise Rena Grace George and the late Cheryl Lynn Grace. And by the way, if any of you didn't have the honor of knowing Cheryl, I feel sorry. She was the most outstanding person I ever met in my life. She really was great, and she was a fighter. Bobby has a son-in-law, Bernard George, 3 grandsons and 4 great-grandchildren. Bobby has been a member of the First Bethel Missionary Baptist Church for 43 years, and the Reverend Bernard Pope is her pastor. She was employed by Southern Bell South AT&T for 30 years, retiring in December of 1997. She served on the Dania Economic Development Corporation Board for over 24 years. Broward Planning Council, Charter Review Board of Broward County, Norwest Bird Point Civic Association, Dania Beach Men and Women's Club, and Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Committee in Dania Beach for over 18 years. She was an elected official from 1989 to 1996, and under her leadership, 82 new single-family homes and 2 senior citizen buildings were constructed. Bobby was instrumental in providing support, which resulted in a new pool being installed at C.W. Thomas Park and implementation of a latchkey program at Collins Elementary School. Other major projects include a new pier in Dania Beach and sidewalks and new street lights for the community. Her awards include Citizen of the Year, LES Community Leader of 1980, Pride Community Leader in 1981, Beyond the Call of Duty Bell South in 1982, 100 Black Women of Broward County in 1983, Bethel Baptist Church Woman of the Year in 1984, MUPA Lifetime Achievement Award in 1985, Addicts Eagle Knowledge Award Class of 1963 to 1986, Champion Award Northwest Bird Point in 1987, Community Award Dania Activity Committee 1988, Venus Club of Fort Lauderdale Community Award in 1992, Broward County Women's Hall of Fame in 1995, Addicts All School Reunion Leadership Award in 1996, President Award Central Broward County Kiwanis 1999 to 2000, Addicts Alumni Award 2004, Broward County Pioneer Award 2005, MUPA Community Leader Award Dania Beach 2006, Addicts High School Knowledge Bowl Award 2007, Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Award of Dania Beach in 2008, Churches United Hollywood and Dania Beach 2009, Collins Elementary School Career Day Award 2010, Finer Womanhood and Dedicated Community Service Award in 2010, Addicts High School Alumni Certificate 2012, Tamara James Community Service Award in 2012, CARE Foundation Certification of Sponsorship and Volunteerism in 2013, Lions International President's Award for Dedication of Service, August 15, 2015, Collins Elementary School Award for Appreciation for Unwavering Dedication, January 27, 2016, Dania Beach Lions Club Community Service Award, August the 20th in 2016, Excellent Service to Our Community Award from Judith Barnes, J.B. Couture, December 11, 2016, Dania Beach Women's Club named Humanitarian of the Year, February 2017, Greater Mount Zion AME 108th Anniversary Invaluable Service Award, February 2017, Gracefully Aging presented Special Recognition Award on September the 28th, 2017, Grand Marshal of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. Parade, City of Dania Beach, January 15, 2018, Woman of the Year Award presented by Ebenezer Deliverance Temple, March 24, 2018, Woman of the Year Award presented by Bethel Baptist Church, March 25, 2018, on April the 13th, 2010, she was elected to the Dania Beach City Commission, and she served as the Vice Mayor for the City of Dania Beach. In 2011, Bobby was reelected to the Dania Beach City Commission for a 4-year term. On November 4th, 2014, she was reelected as Vice Mayor and will serve a 4-year term. Her motto is, "On Christ, the solid rock I stand. All other ground is sinking sand." That was up there, but like I said, they didn't want to do another paper on her. It wasn't the end of it. Yes, dude. And I deserve an award for reading all that.
Yes, you did. You need some food after that.
Kind of nice to have Bob Mikes in here because he was the one that pushed me to where I am right now. So I really appreciate it.
Don't forget, I kept you from being mayor the first time.
I know you did. It's true. It's true.
In front of the podium, Shane, what's going on?
It was nice to have the commission there with me for this honor, and it was asked of me, so when are you gonna start doing something with your life? Thank you so much.
Well, if anyone wants to know what service looks like, just look over there. I'm so proud of her. That's why she's my adopted mother and my second mother, and I'm just so honored to sit on a dais with so much wisdom and knowledge and understanding, and she embodies that last name, Grace, and no wonder why, Mr. Grace married her. So I really want you to enjoy your retirement. Commissioner Brandon Marty, her last meeting here, I need you to read that again. You're tasked with that, okay? Okay. You did such a great job.
Yes, she did.
You know?
She did.
I don't see Mr. Ron booked, so we're going to go to the presentation by the Marine Advisory Board. You're next. You're next. You don't want to go?
No, I just thought you had public comments.
That's later.
I'd like to thank you for being here.
What?
Of course you're here. I've been probably anybody
you.
remember Mayor Cali?
Oh,
Can you
yes.
get?
I talked to him.
Mayor Cali, he was a BSO accountant, and he asked me to be on the Marine Advisory Board. I thought it was going to be temporary, but that was in 98. So I've been around a long time on this board. And we should have been more visible in front of you for years, but, normally things got done. If there was an issue come up between the Mark Felicity and other communications that we had, we didn't come to the board. However, our bylaws say that we should report our findings and our recommendations to the board 4 times a year. Well, last time we were here was 2010, so we've been missing. But that's going to change. We're going to start coming here like we should and present things to you in person. What we're going to do is we're going to talk and look at the slides. That's how old I am. And we'll have questions at the end. Basically, I'm going to try to keep it short and simple.
Can
We
you
have a
can
lot
you
of
stay on the
issues.
mic?
We have a lot of issues, but we just picked 3 for this meeting tonight. So I'm going to have to, let me see if I can get this clicker here. This is our introduction. Oh, let me introduce our members. Help me.
Just stand
Linda
up.
Barber is our secretary, and we could have done this without all of her help because she does our typing and takes our minutes, and we're supposed to give them a copy of our report. Did we do that
We
yet?
got it, we got it.
She's on top of it, Clyde.
Oh, did you also get, supposed to give us something else over the,
Is it a check? I didn't get that.
Chris Burrell, co-chair.
I need you to stay in front of the mic, please, Clive.
Chris Burrell is co-chair, and Carol Stockwalkie, another long-term member. And Chris has also been working with the Broward County Marine Advisory Board that does many things and gives out grant money. One of the things that Chris worked on was this booklet, Boating Safety Guide. Give you all one of them.
Thank you.
Very informative.
Voting safety guide. My husband.
Stuff like that. Is there any photos in the audience? Anybody want to vote?
Oh wait, can we have someone else pass that stuff out?
All right. that's basically what we're charged to do specifically, but not limited to doing these items here, 1 through 28. What we're here for today is these three issues: revision of an existing speed zone, Marine Patrol deputies and boats, and the need in the city and in the county for additional boat ramps. The first issue here, this is an aerial. This is a public notice that we had in 2014, because we were in the process, the city was in the process of requesting this through FWC, and so we had the public hearing. And that's the two boundaries there, boat ramps to, and that yellow square on the left is the Dania Beach Mega Marina, so it'll have to be extended to include that. Right? What we want is to change this sign from slow speed minimum wake, and that's the Florida definitions of what that means, to recommended sign to change to idle speed no wake. It's more enforceable, for one thing, and it makes a lot of sense here. I'll tell you why. The other thing that we get from this is actually the accidents go down in an idle speed. That's one of the things that Chris got for us, these statistics from FWC. I've been on the water, I guess, since the 70s. I've been up and down all these. I never thought I'd want a slow speed, because as kids you always want to go fast. But in looking at the speed zones throughout the county and some parts of Dade and Palm Beach, I find that they're not consistent. There's a mile of waterway in Hillsborough that's idle speed. Nothing is going on there. All there is 300-foot boats tied up. So I guess we know why that is. But what we have there is directors, Harbor Town, a fuel dock, a freight yard that has daily ocean-going vessels backing in to their dock. There's men on floats, on scaffolds, working on boats by the water. So any kind of wake can be a problem for them. Take that back, ahead of myself. I actually called FWC about this to try to start this process from the bottom up. I rode in a state boat, FWC boat. Mark Hodges is a captain in this area. I gave him that map, but I know they're shorthanded, I know they're busy, but nothing's happened. I think I would recommend to the board, the city, that we go start from the top down. There's a department in Tallahassee that does nothing but speed regulations. They keep the records and they approve them. So it has to take somebody other than me, a city official, to request this, probably in writing, with copies to everybody.
Go ahead. Commissioner Brandon Marty has a question.
Yes. Clyde, with all due respect, the things that you are bringing up deserve more attention than your 3 minutes. They really do deserve it. So here's what I'm suggesting. I know there's 28 or whatever it is. You deserve something better than what you're doing right now. And I'm serious. Because we have our full agenda tonight. We have a guest that's supposed to be here. I don't know if he ever came yet. He's here, and he's on a time frame also. But I am so interested in this that I believe you need a separate meeting. These are like complaints, and I agree with you on all those, especially on the wakes and the speed of them, because I'm over at Parker all the time, and what I see turns my stomach sometimes. But I don't think that this meeting will do you justice for 3 minutes.
This is not public comments. We're on the agenda.
It's under presentations. It's under presentations. It's not restricted to 3 minutes.
And we're 1/3 through it.
Can we take action on any of this tonight, City Attorney? Can we agree already? I see stuff I agree on, but I mean, do we take action on this?
Their recommendations is at this point, you would want whatever you like to be studied by staff and come back to you. For example, the speed zones are regulated by state law, but we would do a resolution asking for the change in to idle speed, those kind of things.
But we could ask for slower speed,
You-
like
you could do-
Clive is saying, right?
Absolutely.
That's what we'll go for.
Okay. I was going to say, we could take questions after we're finished. But I see, yeah, this is not public, this is, we're on the agenda.
You deserve more. You are one heck of a bunch. Really,
All
you
right.
are.
Thank you very much. We'll go on to the next subject. What Dania needs, the Marine Patrol and Marine Patrol deputies. Chris will do most of the speaking on this because he spearheaded the study and the facts and the figures. So come up, Chris, and he's put a lot of work into this.
Chris Burrell here, 5099 Southwest 28th Avenue. Thank you for letting us be on the agenda tonight. This is monumentally important. Thank you first for changing the ordinance on our advisory board, and I'll explain shortly. We had 15 members in the past. The reason you didn't see or hear from us a lot is because it was hard to get a quorum together. Okay, your ordinance 2018-007 made sense and brought us down to 10 members. Since then, we have not had a quorum. So this is the reason that we're making monumental advancements here. One of the things I want to mention tonight, I've been on the County Marine Advisory Board for 10 years. I want to thank Colin Donnelly particularly because through those years that Clive and I sat on that board, we worked very hard knowing there's money out there at the county level for doing very nice things for the cities. One of them is the Broward boating improvement type of a thing that could supply money to the cities if you write the proper grants for them. So to me, as a boater, who at 16 years old had my first boat in Broward County, we need to do the right things for the city of Dania. We now have marine experience on that board from the state, county, and local level. And this is the reason that you're going to see us here more. And it's all for the good of the boaters in Dania Beach. The report you have from FWC tonight is absolutely self-explanatory. Can you? Yeah. Okay, it's a complete report, and what they do for the boaters in the state of Florida is track all of the accidents by the city, by the county, all over the state of Florida. One of the things you really need to know that you've got in that printed report tonight is that, go ahead and advance that for me. Again. Okay. This is done by FWC, and this is the report through 17. The report this year will be statistically out next year. Okay? If you look at all of the accidents reported to FWC in Broward County, there are two groups that are concentrated. One of them, if you look at the cities, is from Hollywood to Fort Lauderdale. Guess what? The city of Dania Beach is right in the middle. And those are state statistics. The other one is around Hillsborough Inlet, which is around the city of Pompano Beach. What we need to do is put 2 Marine Patrol boats in this city on the water. 1 deputy in each boat, And it all works through, if you would care to look into it, the Broward County Sheriff's Department. Most of the other cities in this county have their own police departments. To name a few, Hollywood, Hallandale, which is right above the Dade County line, all the way up to Deerfield Beach. There are 2 city entities that contract the Broward Sheriff's Department. One of them is the city of Dania Beach. The other one is Pompano. And excuse me, the third is Deerfield Beach. Pompano has 3 sheriff's boats on the water with a deputy in them daily. And that's from 8 in the morning till 4 in the afternoon. Deerfield Beach, being a very small city on the intercoastal, has 1. Dania Beach has none. We borrow our Marine deputies from Port Everglades, where they are assigned, and they move constantly. On any one day, that sheriff that's on the south side of Port Everglades can be radioed, and they would say, hey, we got a big bass tournament out at Holiday Park, so don't go to Port Everglades. If Dania Beach has an incident, there are no deputies. I'm sure they would try to fill in the best they could. Point is, we do not have deputies on the water. So, and the reasoning for 2 boats, 2 deputies, when you look across a year of where they would patrol, there are going to be times they're on vacation. There are going to also be times one of the boats doesn't work or somebody's ill. So you need to fill the gap if you really want to do the city justice for having deputies on the water. Incidentally, the deputies are paid for by voters' registration money to be schooled every summer. That's another point. Justification for what I'm proposing tonight. We have 1 ocean fishing pier. We have 2.7 miles of ocean front. We have 4 water parks in this city. We have 17 miles of navigable water within the city of Dania Beach. No other city in the county can say that. Mainly, we have 21 working marinas. No other city in Broward County can say that. And a multitude of family residences on the water. And incidentally, I don't have a house on the water, so I don't have a dog in the fight. My mission is to look out for the people in Dania Beach. There is no other city on the Intercoastal Waterway that does not have full-time deputies on the water daily.
Commissioner Grace?
Yeah, you know, all of this is very interesting. It's ironic that this will come before us after we approve the budget on the 18th of this month. Everything has been ratified, and actually we were able to meet all of our obligations, so I don't even see, even though I want to, how we can really fund it this year, probably not until next year.
Let me say something.
Yes.
We know that.
Okay.
And,
I just
and
I don't want to make promises that
no,
we can't
and
keep.
we know this is not going to be instantly. But
Okay.
we've never come before the board in a formal presentation like
Right.
this. And even before the high school problem, BSO is short of deputies.
Mm-hmm.
All the police departments are short. They got hundreds and hundreds of vacancies. Now, our BSO Marine deputies are working at schools. So we know it's going to be long-term. But
Right.
we've got to get the commission
Understood.
to understand
Okay.
what the need is.
Okay.
Commissioner Brandon Marty?
Yeah, we addressed this before and gave BSO a slip
Oh, yeah.
You remember this?
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I want to know,
You didn't get put on the agenda?
can,
You didn't get put on the budget? You didn't get put on the budget?
It was.
no, I thought that we were agreeing that it would be discussed with the sheriff, though, if we gave them the slip, that they would have a patrol boat there. And then the thing that turned me off was when they said, yes, but it would not be designated solely for Dania Beach. What I'm hearing up here is, yeah, we want it to be solely for the city of Dania Beach. And I don't know if it,
Do
I
you
don't-
all want to do a workshop on this?
Oh,
Because we'll be here.
absolutely, because I
Because we'll
want to
be here
know
all
what
night
happened to
tonight.
that parking space for a boat.
Okay.
And I want to know why
I wanna
it
push
wasn't
this.
followed through with the sheriff's
Somebody say
department to give us the
Well, it has to be done
deputy
by contract.
and that boat to stay here.
No, I understand that. I just know that I'm not sure how much more time we have in this presentation, but we have an entire agenda, and I don't want to rush your presentation. And I want to be able to have dialogue up here that can take probably an hour. And so that's why I was
Meet
saying,
again, no problem,
Oh, good.
no problem.
okay.
I
Okay.
agree.
Uh,
May I finish?
Well, how much longer do you have in your presentation? Okay.
I'll be equipped on the next one.
Clive can finish this, but let me say this, okay? This is the only city that does not have their own deputies on the water.
Know it.
We have a new parks director in this city, and I met him last week. And he was with Hollywood for quite a while. I asked him how long. He said about 31 years. And my question was, how long has Hollywood had its own marine deputies on the water? Know what his answer was?
What?
They were there when he got there. So, let me point this
Well, we're
out
not
to
the
you.
city of Hollywood. I'm not going to allow anyone to compare us to different cities. We have a lot of different differences, and we've had our own police department. Then we contract with BSO, and so, I mean, the city of Hollywood's budget is way bigger than the city of Dania Beach. They have their own department. They have their own battles and concerns, and so do we. And we are all saying that we agree with what you're saying.
Yeah.
We're not saying that we disagree with it.
Clive and I would be glad to meet with you all in any workshop you need.
Thank you.
Sounds
All right,
like a plan, Chris.
The next
No.
item we have, there's some more statistics on boat accidents. It's in your book. Need for additional boat ramps.
Four.
Let me make this brief. The marine industry right now is booming since the recession ended. Boat suppliers can't keep up. You see all the time, I'm next to Harbortown Marina, there's these maintenance and marine maintenance and servicing companies can't get enough help. They have signs on their trucks, marine techs needed, please apply. Not only that, every marina, every boat ramp in Broward County on any summer weekend is full. I've been to Deerfield, I've been to Hollywood, which charges a lot of money to park there. And of course, Harbortown. At Harbortown, for 11 weekends this summer, the sign was up at Saturday morning at 9 o'clock saying, closed, parking lot full. So there is a definite need. That brings us to this issue here. This is an old one. This is a property north of Griffin Road, east of US 1. And north of that is the Trails End, Old Trails End Trailer Park. This would be ideal. Is a better picture here. As you can see, that's the property, and it's owned by Seaboard Warehouse. They have a Miami address, but there's in your book there, it'll has the total land description and what it's zoned for. What we're proposing, if you see on the, you can see the power lines. It's they have FPL has an easement on that property, which means nothing can be built permanent, and they always have to have access to maintain those lines. That part of the property, we should pursue purchasing. It may take forever, or it may never happen. There is a The line on the east side, there's a dedicated city street that goes all the way, it shows the right-of-way all the way to the water. I drove down there today. It's a rough street full of potholes and trash, and it ends. And I think the trees have grown over it. This is some of the other backup information. And like Chris was saying, the county BPIP funds, they generate $435,000 a year with the 5-year projection of 3 to 4% increase a year. So the money is there building up. Plus, Mr. Chappell in this letter says that FINE can fund purchasing of land up to 25%. So there's grants out there, and with grant writing, persistent grant writing, this could happen. And there's some contact numbers there. That's FWC that could help move our request for speed change along, and John Fiore, county planner, that manages the BPIP budget. And I'd like to end by thanking our board for all the hard work they've done. And that concludes our presentation.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Mr. Ron Book.
Mayor, Commissioners, Mr. City Attorney, Mr. Manager, nice to see you.
Good
and thank
evening.
you. And I'm joined by Ronna Brown from our firm, who, as most of you know, do a whole lot of the work for you all, so thank you. The goal was to try to walk through where we see things going, but I'm remiss, Mayor, Commissioners, if I don't acknowledge the fact that while we were successful in getting some money in the budget last year, Governor did veto it. We will have a new governor come this time next year, and I would hope that our results and the fruits of our labor would be approved more favorably in the next year of the governor's, first year of the next governor. Everybody wants to know, first of all, about the election. So before I talk about the next session of the legislature, let's simply be clear. We are in a most unique period of time in Florida's history, and we will not ever see an election cycle. And I will simply remind the city attorney, and I've had this discussion previously when I've talked about, well, Charlie Crist spent more money than any candidate running for governor would ever spend. And then I said Rick Scott had spent more money than any candidate for governor would spend in a race. We will top it by so much in this election cycle, folks, that I can't even begin to tell you. Think about the U.S. Senate race. You will probably see in excess of $350 million spent between the two candidates running for the United States Senate. Governor Scott has already spent well over $100 million. Bill Nelson has already spent well over $70 million. And between what their campaigns are spending and those independent third-party expenditures that cannot coordinate at the federal level, where soft money is illegal from a coordination standpoint, but not illegal from a spending standpoint, so long as they're not communicating with the candidate's campaign. You move to the governor's race, you will see in excess in the general of $150 million between the two of them spent, on top of, as it relates to all of the candidates that have already run in the primaries, between what Phil Levine spent, Jeff Green spent, Gwen Graham spent, Chris King spent, and Adam Putnam spent. You've already spent another $150 to $180 million between them in getting up to the general election. You're talking about several hundred million more in total being spent. Low spending races, Commissioner of Agriculture race, between the two candidates, you will see $35 million spent between what they will spend and what third-party expenditures will be spent. The CFO's race, where you've got now an appointed but an incumbent CFO in Jimmy Petronas, Jeremy Ring, former state senator from Western Broward. He will spend somewhere in the $15 to $18 million range. Petronas, who thought he would spend 5 or 6, will spend every bit of 12, 13, 14 million. You get on down to the Attorney General's race, you will see in the general election probably close to 14 or 15 spent between the two of them. And that's before you get to congressional races. And the hottest congressional races being contested in Florida are being contested here in Miami-Dade, where you will see Debbie McCarcel-Powell. You can't turn your television on without seeing something from her. And immediately thereafter, you see a commercial by Carlos Curbelo. Then you see one by the Democratic Congressional Campaign Committee, and then you see one by the Republican Congressional Campaign Committee. And I will say to each of you, so you understand this, if you took any 2.5 media markets in the state, there are 10 media markets in Florida, if you took 2.5 of any other of the media markets in the Florida, they don't cost what the media market here in Dade and Broward and South Palm Beach County costs. It is why you only saw in the primaries Phil Levine and Jeff Green, and only in the last 6 days did you see Gwen Graham at all. You saw no Andrew Gillum. You saw no Adam Putnam. You saw very little, if any, Ron DeSantis. And you saw, if you watched Fox in the Attorney General's race, that's the only place you saw Frank White in the Republican primary side, and he lost miserably to Ashley Moody from Tampa. You saw none of it. Today, you turn on your television, you see congressional commercials, McCarcel-Powell, Curbelo. You're now seeing Shalala and Salazar. You're not seeing much of Salazar on Anglo television. You are seeing her on 23 and 51 and 41 almost only. You can buy cable. Those of you who have run and have bought cable, you know you can buy cable for a fraction of what you can buy network television for. But if you keep on going, you get the drift. And by the way, I didn't get to the Diaz-Balart race, where he has an opponent in former Judge Mary Flores Barzi. I didn't begin to talk to you about the constitutional amendments. There are 13 of those on the ballot. Amendment 1, which is the homestead exemption, you won't see much money spent on it. Amendment 2, which is the, if you are a realtor, if you are a commercial property owner, if you are a second homeowner in Florida, if you are a retail property owner, then you know that in the Constitution, after we pass Save Our Homes and after we pass portability, at the time that they put portability on the ballot, they put a provision on that capped property taxes at a 10% increase for commercial, retail, second home rental properties, but they did something that you've not seen maybe in the history of Florida. They put a sunset provision on a constitutional amendment. So if you don't pass Amendment 2, and you will see the realtors spending north of $12 million in the coming couple of weeks, nobody pays attention to constitutional amendments, referendums, until you get into the last 4 or 5 weeks. We're 43 days away from the general election today. Ask the guy back here who's running the transportation initiative for Broward County, Mr. Mattis. He knows what I'm talking about. So you'll see a bunch spent on that. But if you don't adopt that, you will see a significant rise in commercial, rental, and retail properties to the tune of in excess of $750 million almost overnight. Amendment 3, which is the Indians in Disney World, they've already spent north of $40 million to get where they are. They're going to spend another $60 million to tell those of us that live here in this community. By the way, they're the ones that have tried to stymie the Dania Casino facility over here. It's been the Indians in their lawsuits to stymie that over here. The Indians want to tell all of us that you should not have the ability to control gambling in Florida. So they want to change the Constitution to say that if you want to do any expansion on gambling in Florida in the future, you got to put a new constitutional amendment on the ballot requiring a 60% vote. And why does that matter to you? It ought to matter to you because people that live in the sovereign state of Florida and not in a donut hole on an Indian reservation in, if you will, on their sovereign country, should not control what we do or don't do. And the United States Supreme Court told the people of Florida and the people of the 49 other states recently that you could pass a sports book. Why does that matter to you? Because if the legislature passes a sports book in November or December in a special session, it means $1 billion of additional revenue. $1 billion of additional revenue that they can spend in March and April. They're talking about an increase of all kinds of other taxes to meet our K-12 needs. They won't be able to spend that money in March and April if they don't pass it before January 1st. And there are two schools of thought, Mr. City Attorney, as to what the effective date is on the constitutional amendment known as Amendment 3. Some of us believe it's a January 1 date. Some quite legitimately argue that it's upon the passage of the amendment. The Indians wish they could get that amendment back, even though they live in a sovereign country outside of the state of Florida, somewhere in a donut hole west of here. They wish they could get that constitutional amendment back and rewrite it to put an effective date in. They didn't. We'll see what the courts say about that, whether it passes or not. If it doesn't pass by a 60% vote, we got a free passageway. If it passes, then we'll see what the courts say. Amendment 4, I believe, is the restoration of rights provision. I don't remember 5. 6 is victims' rights, which is Marcy's Law. You see a blonde-headed state senator on television talking about the adoption of Amendment 6, which gives victims of crime in our state true rights. True rights. They balance the rights of the victims to those that are accused of committing crimes. It is only appropriate that we finally adopt something that says that if you're a victim of crime, you have a say, that you get notice of hearings. You will see north of $30 million spent on that. The ad you're watching now, Commissioner Brandon Mark, that you're shaking your head about, it's about a $7.5 million buy statewide for 2 weeks of television and digital. Keep on going up the ballot. Amendment 8, they knocked off the ballot. That was the education amendment. You've got Amendment 13, which is the elimination of dog racing in Florida. You will likely see, and by the way, let me go back to Amendment 3 for a minute. I said what you were going to see spent by the Indian tribe, the Seminoles, and Disney, because it's Disney as well. The opponents of Amendment 3, which are Casino at Dania Beach, the Big Easy down the road, Gulfstream, Magic City, Isle of Capri, Miami Jai-Alai, or the casino in Miami, I think is what they call it. They will spend somewhere north of $30 million to kill the amendment. And remember, they've only got to get to 40% plus 1 in order to kill it. Then you go on up the ballot. You've got 13, which would eliminate dog racing, which is probably a good thing. Which one of them of a spending nature did I miss? Oh, Amendment 5, which none of you should like, which is a supermajority for any future taxes that you may or may not want to do. I come from a world of majority rules. I used to play sandlot ball, Madam Mayor, like your son does. Last time I checked, it was 50% plus 1 who picked up the sides. I want him, you want him, I want him. You know, it's 50%. I don't buy this 60% stuff that goes on. So that's what you've got looking at you. And then by the time you're done with those amendments and you're done voting the top of the ballot, anybody who thinks you're not going to have ballot fatigue by the time you get to our local races, by the time you get to our local referendums, by the time you get to electing city and county and school board officials and judges, it's called undervoting, ballot fatigue. And I've seen the ballot. I don't know whether all of you and those of you you out here and those of you
13 pages,
listening
right?
have seen the ballot, the
13.
ballot is long.
13 pages.
13
It's long.
pages.
We downloaded it a couple of days ago. It's shockingly long. But you've got to vote. People have to vote.
That's
Your
right.
future depends upon it. No matter how you're going to vote, whether it's the referendums or you're voting Democrat or Republican, just vote. It's important. The future of our state is at stake. And those who think this is just another election, there's not anything about this as just another election. This is a real election, and it's as important as any you've seen, because what it does is it's the office holders that run statewide. So we're talking about the likelihood of electing somebody for 8 years in November, not for just 4. It's important, and the future does depend upon it. And those 13 amendments, I remind each of you, you're not talked about it. We put pigs in the Constitution. We put a train to nowhere in the Constitution. A bunch of those amendments are things that belong in statutory law. They don't belong in the Bible of the state, which is your Constitution. They just don't. What do we have to look forward to this legislative session? Right now, without new revenue, we're in trouble. We are in trouble. You're going to have 2 new presiding officers. Senator Bill Galvano from the Sarasota, Manatee County area of the state is the incoming Senate president. Your incoming Speaker of the House is Jose Oliva from Miami Lakes and Hialeah area. Jose Oliva is a libertarian. He's not simply a conservative Republican. He is, you know, a lot of people get elected to the legislature. Some are Republicans and some are Democrats, and they go in with a philosophy. And they find a way to move to the right or move to the left. Here's what you won't find from Jose Oliva. He's going in one position, and he will stay there. He is the most conservative, libertarian individual I have ever seen, and he is also the most honest, most forthright. You walk in, you have a conversation, you know whether he's a yay, you know whether he's a nay. He is a conservative, a pure conservative. And talking about that, what are the things that matter to him? Let me tell you, local governments, you've heard me say this before. Madam Mayor, you and I have spent some time talking about the issues of the state. We've talked about the encroachment of home rule. City manager, the city attorney. Let me be clear. Let me be clear. While this last session was rough, and this last session was about preemption, let me read them off to you. Tree timber and vegetation trimming removal, preempting local governments, it died. Dockless bike sharing, preempting local government, it died. Impact fees, it died. Vacation rentals, it died. All of these preemptions. County municipal public officers and employees, it died. Telling you when you could have your elections, it died. Repeal and sunset of CRAs, it died. Telling you how your MPOs could do what it could do, it died. Government accountability, it died. Repeal of red light cameras, it died. Local tax referendum that I told you about already, they're trying to put in the Constitution, it died. Local government fiscal transparency, it died. Interruption of services, it died. Parking garage backing in that some cities regulate, it died. Civil action for frivolous suits on public records, it died. Folks, Mayor, Commissioners, this incoming Speaker is far more committed. Far more committed. The outgoing Speaker was running for governor, so he became malleable. He became movable. Jose Oliva is not a movable guy on many of these issues, and you should look right after the organizational session, 10 days after the election in November. You will look for several bills dealing with local government being released, because his chief of staff and his staff have been writing those bills for 3.5 months. Nobody has seen those drafts. They are playing in a theater near you. Jose Oliva, in addition to local government reforms. he is going to be heavily engaged in healthcare reform. Telemedicine, repeal of certificate of need, 24-hour, 48-hour overnight stays in AMP surgical centers, scope of practice for those in the medical world. He is going to open up and let more people do things that they cannot currently do in medical office and medical settings in our state. It is going to be a long 2 years if you serve in local government, and it is going to be a long 2 years if you are in the healthcare business. And let me be clear, vacation rentals preemption, CRAs, things are going to change. And by the way, one of the examples he gives of local government abuses exists in Pinecrest. I will use the example because he does. So you have somebody wants to build, a constituent of his, wants to build on a 2-acre piece of property, residential, in Pinecrest. There's a monster tree that's not an endangered tree, not some special kumquat tree, not some special anything. Let's just, for purposes of a discussion, call it a monster ficus, or we could go one step further and call it a monster melaleuca, the largest you've ever seen. But it's obstructing the property. And there's no way to design what that person wants to build. Yeah. It's not as though the city wants them to move the tree somewhere else, or mitigate off-site, or do some restoration somewhere. They simply want to charge this guy $20,000 to remove the tree. Right. That's an example of what gets his blood flowing. I have said to local governments all over this state for 5 years, be calm, think twice, because when we act, when our local governments act, and let's face it, I represent 31 around the state, from the city of Tallahassee to Pinellas to Brevard to here. When we take action and the public has no other avenue of redress, they're running to a friendly legislature that wants not just to trim the wings of local governments, they want to take the kneecaps out. So the goal has been to encourage local governments to think twice before acting. You know, my friend Lee Feldman up the street, and my friends in Sunrise, 2 years ago, when AT&T was trying to deal with the small cell bill, and they passed a preemption on it. Lee didn't like the fact that they used Fort Lauderdale as an example, and my friend Richard Solomon didn't like the fact that they were using Sunrise as an example. And I said to them, guys, you've spent 3 years developing an ordinance on what they can and can't do, so AT&T did what they felt they had no choice but to do. They ran their capital. I've tried to tell you that's what they're going to do. And so for 2 more years, you will see that assault on local governments. In the Senate, the incoming Senate President, Senator Galvano, has a very different approach to his priorities. His priorities will be adequate funding. Adequate funding for pre-K to 12. Instead of a 67-cent FTE increase in funding in the base student allocation known as the BSA. That's his #1 priority. His #2, very close second, is to continue investing in our higher education centers of excellence. And whether that's at the University of Florida, go Gators, or it's Gulf Coast, or it's FAU or FIU.
Or UM.
You all know, don't you know what a Gator's worst nightmare is, Madam Mayor? You have 2 kids that grow up.
No, that's not how you do it. It's like
and
this.
One that goes here, and you gotta write checks to those places. My client at the University of Miami.
Yeah.
But those are some of what we're going to look at, and I believe Senator Galvano is committed to looking at a sports book. It's important. And by the way, a betting question would be, could any of you tell me, and you can't answer this, what the most bet upon sport is in the country?
Soccer.
Soccer.
You would be wrong.
Oh, gosh.
Don't bet
Baseball?
basketball.
Baseball?
No.
Do I get a guess?
Yeah, yes.
Oh, football.
You're wrong.
Horses?
You're wrong. Who said
Golf. Golf, I said it.
Yeah, you did not
that?
either.
Bet upon sport, because on the sports book, they have every player, they have strokes and birdies and bogeys, and it's amazing when we dug in and looked at it. The most bet upon sport, I bet it was car racing, to be honest with you, because NASCAR and Formula One
Good one.
are so worldwide attractive that it was driving. But we were wrong, but it's critically important. I'm remiss if I don't take 2 minutes on Marjorie Stoneman Douglas. I'm going to Tallahassee for 44 years. My world, your world, your world, 21 million Floridians' worlds, not just the worlds if you lived in Parkland and Coral Springs, changed on February 14th, mid-afternoon. In my 44 years of going to the Capitol, I have never seen lawmakers do what they did in 15 days. They managed to take and put a piece of legislation together. We have not seen a gun safety bill pass the Florida legislature in decades. That we passed a gun safety bill, and you know what? I heard a lot of people try to say the ends justify the means. You shouldn't pass anything if you don't pass a repeal or elimination outlawing AR-15s and this one and that one. The bill outlawed bump stocks. The bill changed the age for which you can buy an assault weapon. It put $400 million into a bill, $100 million for school hardening, $100 million plus for SROs, $100 million more for other safety programs, and $100 million plus in mental health. And we said that law enforcement officers, like the deputies in the back corner, can take guns from people that shouldn't have them under any set of circumstances. I went to the school with my daughter and 9 lawmakers on the afternoon of the 15th. 40 minutes before we got to the school, they had removed the last body. We had a chance to look in and see the carnage of what occurred. My daughter helped press the legislative leadership, Senate President, the incoming Senate President, the Senate President coming after the Appropriations Chair, Speaker of the House, the next Speaker of the House, to get on a plane with her and fly down here on the 15th to walk that school and to go to the vigil. I don't believe if that had not occurred, that the urgency at which this piece of legislation came together would have. The bill passed the Florida Senate by one single vote. One single vote. And only one senator from Broward voted for that bill. The bill passed the Florida House by 10 votes. There were 10 Democrats that joined with the Republican majority, most of which came from this delegation, and passed that bill. We're not done with school safety. I don't believe there will be another gun bill passed, not in the next 2 years. But I do believe there will be continued appropriations and continued adjustments to the school safety aspect of the bill. Marjorie Stoneman Douglas Statewide School Safety Commission is in the, while it is a 3-year commission, they have finished the first draft of their report, which is not public yet, which will recommend a bunch of things. That following Monday, Tuesday, and Wednesday, when we brought students and then parents to town to walk those halls, I'm not sure that I have ever been able to process Sandy Hook and Columbine and all of the other mass shootings of children until it happened in my backyard.
Yep.
And we saw extraordinary leadership, in my opinion, because there was people clearly on one side and clearly on the other side. And anybody who thinks that there is not an impact in this election cycle, I would suggest to you that the only statewide candidate that was endorsed by the NRA in this election primary season was a guy by the name of Matt Caldwell, State House member, who is the Republican nominee for Agriculture Commission. He resisted the leadership in the House and voted against the bill. And for that, the NRA rewarded him by sending a letter to its membership endorsing him. Now, I'm not saying people should vote yay or nay on Matt Caldwell. I'm simply making the point that those who think the NRA is not still alive and well, in spite of having lost the fight to kill the bill. And let's be clear, they wanted to kill the bill. And those who voted no have to live with their vote. Those who voted yes did it with courage and with a commitment to do what was right by the public. I want to end by simply saying to you, I was proud to be from Broward County. I was proud to be from here because we were a community that didn't simply go into a state of mourning. We went to a place of asking for change and being leaders for change, where young children still to this day have continued that momentum of wanting and working to bring about change. And that means something. Lastly, on the airport for just a minute, to the manager and to the city attorney, I sent an item that was on the consent agenda at the county today. We have continued to talk to county administrator about airport-related issues so that we can continue to do the things that need to be done for your citizens. And if in the coming weeks, as we move through the election and we move into the organizational session, any of you would like to spend time, Ron and I are prepared to come over and meet with each of you individually at any time that you ask. We try, when the manager, city attorney, Mr. LaFerrier calling us, to be responsive, whether it be a legislative or statewide issue or a local issue. And to you, Madam Mayor, and to the commission, for your forceful leadership as a commission on the issue of sand. I can tell each of you that the mayor didn't reach out to me once or twice, but a dozen times, frustrated at the lack of, if you will, DEP local commitment to solving your sand problem, which obviously through the leadership here in this community, your constituents and the voters of this community and taxpayers should give all of you a resounding applause for protecting and working to restore your beaches as they should have been done way before now. So thank you for the continued opportunity, not just to represent you, but to represent your citizens and your taxpayers, of which we're proud to be here. So thank you, and if you have questions, we'd be glad to answer any of them.
Yes. Commissioner Brandon Marty.
You're a good speaker.
Thank you, Commissioner.
You really are, and I love your daughter. I love for what she stands for, too, and I love her, watching her on TV. In fact, I've got it timed so that I know exactly when Blondie's going to be on there. Only one question.
Yes, ma'am.
In everything that you spoke about, I turned to my vice mayor and I said, what does Disney World have to do with all this? Sir, you lost me on that. What the heck does Disney World have to do with all this?
Disney does not want one nickel, one dime, one penny spent on anything entertainment-wise, hospitality-wise, but their theme parks. And they believe that when you spend a nickel or a dime or a penny at the Casino at Dania or down at Big Easy or any of the other facilities, that somehow, some way, it is diverting money away from their theme parks. And I kid you not, Commissioner, they have put up tens of millions of dollars, as has the Seminole Tribe of Florida, to limit your ability to control whatever form of gaming entertainment you would otherwise have in our state.
Thank you.
I just want to thank you for, always accepting my calls and my texts and my rants, and for continuing to serve our city. You do so in such a powerful way and a forceful way, and I think we're lucky to have you. So thank you for taking a little time out and coming to update us, and I'm sure I'll be calling you soon for something.
Safe bet. Thank you.
Commissioner Grace?
I'm going to miss my time in Tallahassee because if there was something that I did not understand, and as we went from room to room trying to entice those people to leave our local government alone and let us handle our business, because nobody knows better what local government is about than us, you were very gracious. So I'm going to keep tabs on it. This was a very thorough report, and I'm sure that my fellow commissioners will definitely be coming up to Tallahassee and making sure that everything is above board. Thank you.
Mayor, if I could. Commissioner, last time I checked, you weren't checking out. You were just leaving the commission because of term limits.
That's the truth.
Nothing should stop you from getting
Well, that's
in your
true.
car or on that airplane and coming up
Thank
and
you. And
being the advocate that you have been over the years.
Thank you
And
so
I
much.
would encourage you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
I'll take you with me.
Thank you, Mr. Book.
I just said I'll take her with me.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Have a good one.
Appreciate it very much.
Maybe I will.
Thank you.
Special event request from the Dania Beach CRA for the Dania After Dark. Do we have any issues?
No issues, Mayor.
Move it.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? We don't have any proclamations. Citizens' comments. Did Carol leave? I think Carol left. I think she just left. Carol Hemmeth. She just left, right?
Carol who?
Oh, okay, it's more than
Carol
one Carol,
Hemmeth.
sorry. I get your last names confused. Uh-oh. Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Okay, my name is Carol Hemmis, and I reside at 214 Southwest 6th Street, Dania Beach, Florida. And actually, mine isn't any complaints or anything like that. I was over at our American Legion this evening for my meeting, and our commander told me to come over here and to represent him and to ask the mayor, vice mayor, commissioners, and the board, and everybody else who wishes to come. We will be doing our Veterans Day on November 12th, which is a Monday. And everyone is invited. It's usually around 11 o'clock in the morning. We have a half an hour ceremony, and then we provide some food and entertainment. So we would appreciate it if you all would come.
At 11?
11. I know you're usually there.
I am.
And Bobby.
We have a
Yes.
grand opening. I'm going to have to see
Am I-
what time that grand opening. No, it's another one. It's a whole bunch of.
Ah.
Okay.
Okay, and the other thing is, now that I was listening to Ron, I know that I don't know much about the amendments.
Gotta go look 'em up.
At all.
Yes.
So it would be nice if we could have something that would go over the amendments and whatever we're supposed to be voting on in November, so that we know, as the citizens, what we're voting for or not voting for.
The Sun Sentinel usually does it.
Yeah.
Do they usually do one?
Mhm.
Jessica, are you going to do something in the Dania Press?
Yeah. Carol,
Yes.
Mayor,
Yeah.
Mayor, I know that the Sun Sentinel does put out a
Yeah,
full
that's what we said.
informational on each amendment and each candidate and so on. Just keep an eye on the Sun Sentinel for the next 30 days. Everything will be coming out on daily basis of different stuff.
Yeah, the Sun Sentinel does it. They'll be very
Okay.
thorough.
Yeah, because I wanted, them listed and what it is, what it involves, and
Correct.
so that we can make an informed decision for the best
Yes,
of us.
good idea.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you. Rich Obby? Please state your name and address for the record. You have 3 minutes.
Richard Aubie, 675 Southeast 2nd Avenue, Dania Beach. Hello, Mayor, Commissioners.
Hello.
Hello.
Can you speak in the mic?
I wanted to thank you guys for the ordinance that's being passed, that it was passed. I believe it's starting October 1st on Monday, stopping the plastic and is it Monday?
Yeah, well, yeah, the ordinance is, but we are giving them until the end of the year, January 1, to implement it.
Okay. Well, I thought it was happening October 1st. I was trying to clarify that, if it was happening or not. But I'm really for that, and I wanted to thank you guys for trying to pass that. I think it's awesome. I go out there picking up straws myself, and I can't believe that there's 500 million straws that get used in the United States every day. And I've been picking them up with our Lions Club, and there's so many out there. Whatever we can do to be an example for other cities, I think would be great, and I hope it does get passed and it's finalized. I actually thought it was, but
It's finalized, but we have to give a certain amount of time for them to use, their
What they already
supplies.
have.
okay. And then after that, do they get fined or they stop using it?
Yes,
Yep.
the ordinance, the ordinance it's on the website, right? Can you find the ordinance on the website?
It's online.
Yeah, it's online.
I've learned a lot about it from listening to Kat Uden when she came up here and spoke about it. We had her speak at our club, and I learned a lot about it. So I'm just really excited about that. Reduce, reuse, refuse, recycle still, but mostly about that. I wanted to also thank Commissioner Grace for all that you've done in your service to the city and your life. It's pretty awesome. Thank you.
Thank you.
And for supporting our Lions Club. Dania Lions Club was our sponsor for our Hollywood Lions Club almost 2 years ago. We've done a lot. I just want to report back to you all the great things we've done. And a segue to invite you all to our gala that we're having this Saturday over.
This Saturday?
It's
Yes.
happening this Saturday. Yes, it is. I know there's
At
a
the
lot going on.
Marriott.
It's happening at the Marriott. I know there's a lot going on this weekend. There's also something going on at the Gallery of Amazing Things. Our club's done a lot. We appreciate all the support you guys have given us. We've helped raise close to $40,000 this last year that we've given to multiple charities. The biggest one was to Project Alive Hunter Syndrome, which is a charity that helps raise money to find the cure for a disease that affects little boys called Hunter Syndrome. Last year, we were able to raise from our gala that we had over at the Marriott, which we're having again this year. We helped raise almost $23,000. We sold out. We had a 1920s gala, and this year we're having a masquerade. You guys are all invited, and I know you've supported us in one way or another. If you want more information on it, you can go to HollywoodLionsClub.org. We are also very fortunate. There was a great write-up in the Dania Press with some more information on it. And that's pretty much it. Thank you, guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I think Claire left. Henry Bowe and Lisa Bowe.
Hi, thank you.
Good evening.
I'm not even sure how to begin, and
What's your name and address for the record, please?
Lisa Sheevbo, our address 4717 Southwest 35th Avenue in Dania
Okay.
Beach.
Mhm.
And Thank you for all your dedicated service. I didn't realize that we had such dedicated county commissioners working for us. That's awesome. So my issue is with this building that a building addition that we've been working on the last couple of years, and we've recently run into an issue with the building department and their permit department. We had an issue with the electrical, and because of that, I went in and brought my permit card where it's been signed off on, and it was brought to light that our building trusses were never inspected, or at least not signed off on. Well, my addition is close to done. I'm waiting on my final inspection of the electrical, and then they can come do the complete final inspection. And apparently the inspector who has been signing off on our inspection card came out and did our framework, our sheeting, the trusses and a partial sheeting, and then signed off on the final for the building. And they don't have it recorded in the computers in the permit department. And we're now being asked to jump through hoops and to hire an additional engineer to come out and verify that it was built according to specs. But it's been signed off on the card, and the same inspector had come out and signed off on our building card indicating that the sheeting roof was done, the sheeting walls was done, then came out, signed off on the wire lath, on the tin caps for the roof and the roof panels, and failed to sign off on something in the middle for the trusses. And we're now being asked to jump through hoops and verify that this was done and hire an independent engineer come out and examine this. And it's either an oversight or just a failure to communicate, or the man forgot to report it. Something happened along the way, because my husband recalls a conversation that he had with him the day that he came out and did the inspection, where they were nailing the sheeting into the trusses and they had missed a couple of the trusses, and he told him that he had to like re-nail it. And he's recalling these conversations that he's had with him, and it's also signed off on my card that they did the final. So how can they be backpedaling? The house is done. It's done. I don't know how to resolve this, and they're
Okay,
not
I'm
willing to
gonna
work
help
with
you out.
us.
I'm gonna help you out.
We're gonna help you.
Mark LaFerriere, can you raise your hand? This is Mark, and we're gonna hope that this. I know you probably know him well. I'm gonna ask you to get with Mark, and I'm sure that Mark will help us resolve this, especially if it was an error on our part. And please come back and tell us a victory report.
Okay, thank you.
All right.
I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah, you did the right thing.
Thank you. Thank you. Mr. Craig Valentine.
No, not him again.
Hello, everybody. My name is Craig Valentine, Gang Girls Wrestling Asylum, 1982 Tiger Tail Boulevard. Just a real quick one. I want to thank Commissioner Salvino for coming out this Sunday, for being our guest timekeeper.
Even though I made a mistake.
Didn't get him in the ring, huh?
Nope.
Boy.
But actually, Commissioner Grace, before I pass this stuff out, would request that you come to our one-year anniversary, October 31st, along with the rest of the commissioners. Actually, I need you kind of required to be there. Commissioner Salvino can fill you in on it. And,
When is it?
October 31st, Halloween's our one-year anniversary.
That's our Halloween party. What time?
We're 7:30 is when we're doing our trick-or-treating
won't
for the
be able to do
kids,
it.
and then we start our stuff at 8
Yeah.
o'clock.
Okay, that is a bad date for us, simply because we'll be there from 5 until 8:30.
Where I mean, I'm not sure what time our fall festival is going to end, but we have our own trunk or treat that we have over at CW Thomas Park along with BSO.
Can we not combine them, because we also have BSO with Prime Night Watch Out? Maybe we can combine all three of them together so we can all be at CW Thomas?
We could figure it out. We have
Okay.
the one-year anniversary there, and we can take the rest of those
Yeah,
rounds.
we can do the dedication
Not an
at
issue.
the same time. Okay.
But for the breast cancer event we have coming up October 7th,
Yes.
At the CW Thomas. Can you bring a ring out to CW Thomas Park and you guys can put on a show? Halloween, I mean. Thank you.
Okay, now, we're very limited on shirts. I just ordered more. We did very good at the show and online selling them to raise money.
I'm about to lose some weight to fit this. It's motivation.
You're the basketball player. I got you the tank top, at least the T-shirts.
Don't you feel a little slighted that we didn't get a shirt?
Uh-oh.
You put this on, you look like one of those wrestlers. I'm just saying.
Gangrel was wearing one.
Cannot get into this one.
So, but donations are coming through the Facebook page. People are purchasing T-shirts. We have more and more people signing up for October 7th.
Okay.
So the breast cancer benefit is moving along well. I don't know if I could hit the $189,000 you did, but
All we ask is you to try,
We're-
because the research that we try to do for people that have cancer cannot pay for their own treatments is a plus. I'm blessed that I was in the system with Bell South, AT&T, Southern Bell. But a lot of people don't have medical insurance, and I cannot see them being turned away. They deserve the same treatment as people with insurance because they're trying to live for their families at the same time.
yes, and our printers donated another 400 shirts, and since we were speaking before, I have another 1,000 wristbands being manufactured.
Okay.
And I also want to thank the CRA for getting us out in the blast. And I'm also happy to go ahead and meet the new Parks Recreation Director, Eric. I sat with him. We're working on the stuff for the Christmas Toy Drive, as everybody knows, Quarterdeck and Nail House.
Yes.
The only thing is we already have our U.S. Customs agent to go ahead and wrestle. I also asked Captain Marks if he could find a BSO officer.
To wrestle, y'all gonna lose. Child.
This is 14 pounds of gold. This belt is 35 years old. It's real. So
Great.
let's see who wants to step up to it.
Okay.
And also, quick thing for the city of Dania, we did sign the contract with Atomic Wrestling. So they will be arriving into the city of Dania coming in March to tape.
Okay.
So if everybody remembers the old school wrestling, Eric Bischoff, Jerry Briscoe, Shannon Benjamin, who was in the Olympics and everything.
I go all the way back to Dusty Rhodes.
Okay. All their kids are taping for Atomic. They will be here in Dania Beach. They're going to be renting the hotels. They'll be here on March 23rd. And also Micro Championship Wrestling we have acquired, and they will be relocated in Dania Beach at the end of October.
Good.
Thank you.
So
Good job.
Appreciate you.
Thanks, Jake.
So
Nice
thank you
work.
to
Please
everybody.
check on that date because we're not going to be able to run from place to place because we're co-sponsors.
Yeah,
What? Okay.
we'll try and get to everybody.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Susie Otto. Hi, please state your name and address for the record.
My name is Susie Otto. I live at 2140 Southwest 52nd Street, Dania Beach. I have some pictures that coincide with what I'm about to talk about, Dania Beach Pier. Do you want these so you guys can look at them while I'm talking?
Sure.
Okay, well, I'll pass them down. Oh, thank you.
I'll just start from the beginning. My name is Susie Otto, and I'm a very, very concerned resident of Dania Beach in regards to the management and upkeep of our once beautiful Dania Beach Pier. I would like to address the safety of our local residents and visitors who use the Dania Pier. I was enjoying the pier and fishing with my 12-year-old son, Steven, which my son went to school with your son, on Wednesday, September 19th, around 3 p.m. When I got out of my chair to see what fish he had caught, which was many triggerfish, when I almost tripped and fell flat on my face on the pier due to a silver plate, which you have the picture, that was only halfway screwed down onto the pier boards. There was a huge lip on the one side. I caught myself just in time. This is a huge tripping liability hazard. Then when I was going back to my chair to relax on that nice, beautiful day, I noticed a huge opening in between the wooden boards. Another huge liability issue, which you have in front of you pictures of. Thankfully, in regards to that opening, there were no small kids that day who would have gotten their foot and or leg caught in that said opening. I took and have the pictures, which you guys are looking at right now. I'm here to ask who is supposed to be maintaining and keeping the Dania Beach Pier safe. All that silver plate needed was 2 more screws to screw it down, and all that opening needed was a board to cover it like they had done the other boards. It seems like in the last 2 years, nobody has been down there to maintain the pier. I've been going so much in the last month that I've just been noticing all this stuff. Another thing was Monday, it was Monday, September 10th, before last Wednesday, me and my son were down there. We were down at the end of the pier. Somebody comes on the pier with a loud boombox, okay? And all of a sudden, loud, obnoxious music was playing. Of course, I went over and nicely said, "Excuse me, can you please turn down the music?" They turned it down for about 5 minutes. That was it. Kept blaring and blaring. Nobody needs to hear that. Other people were coming on the pier. "I'm not here to hear this music. I'm here to fish." So I said to my son, "Come on, we're going to move down the pier. I'm going to have a confrontation." But I am going to go into the office and ask, is there any rules and regulations in regards to any loud music on the pier? Well, I went into the Dania Beach Pier office, and I, excuse me, is there any rules and regulations? So she said, "Well, did you ask them to turn it down?" I'm like, "Well, of course I did, but they turned it up," okay? So the guy next to her said, "Well, you need to go to City Hall." I said, "Okay, well, then I'm going to go to City Hall." So that day we left, and I talked to a very nice lady named Sherry in the Parks Department, and she explained exactly who manages the pier, West Cove, okay, with the last how many years. But apparently, since they took over, nothing's been done. I don't care about music on the pier. I'm not a fuddy-duddy. But just keep it so you can listen to it, not everybody and their mother and the fish and everybody else. You know, I mean, if you have music, that's fine, but it was just so loud and obnoxious, it was just ridiculous. So my main concern is the safety of the residents, the safety of the visitors that come down to Dania Pier, because the boards are so messed up. And I swear, when you look at that picture of that silver plate, you can see my foot that almost went right into that silver plate. It takes 2 screws to screw it. It would have taken somebody an hour to just fix that and the board that had that huge opening. I was just dumbfounded that this stuff wasn't done. So
Thank you.
I just wanted to bring it to your attention.
No, I appreciate it, Susie. Our pier, you know, is maintained not by WestTrek, by Public Services, but WestTrek does do the rules and regulations, and so we're going to look into this. I'm going to make sure that we look into this, and for sure, something that's a liability is something that someone could, you know, hurt themselves or their toes or kids. There's a lot of kids out there. My son goes out there, and so I understand your concern, and thank you.
You can keep the picture.
Okay. Robert Mikes.
Who is? I'm sorry, what was that name again? Oh,
See,
that guy?
now you're hearing why her daughter Cheryl used to chew her out, because she would chew me out here when we were both on the commission together. We both got elected at the same time, and we get into arguments over particularly the airport. And then she'd say she'd come home and Cheryl would give you a little hell, right?
Yes, she
for
did.
picking on Bob Mikes.
Yes, she did.
Cheryl was an angel. She was really
Yes, she was.
a good kid.
Thank you.
Okay, what I came here before
Please
because
state your name and address for the record.
Bob Mike, 601 Northwest 7th Street.
Thank you.
When I'm in town. We got some messages that there's going to be some public discussion on our parks. That's great. What I think you need to do, and we have some waterfront parks, some very valuable parks, and one of the things that always bothered me, and why when I left we put a charter provision in there where if anyone ever tried to take the charter, take our parks either through a long-term lease, which is almost the same as a sale, any of that, our parks would be protected because you had to go to a referendum if you wanted to like take one of our parks. And there were 3 attempts on the Parker Center and the dock, and you heard about we need more ramps. Well, they almost took them away twice. Mm-hmm. And these are donated properties. They're part of the history of Dania. They belong really to the people of Dania. Nobody should be sitting up here and one bad decision lose this park for 99 years because of whatever. Sure. And we almost lost the Parker Center twice, once to a casino boat, once when they finished the new Frost building, and one of the mayors said, well, we don't really need the Parker Center now that we got the Frost building. You know we always need that.
Yeah.
And where would we do our fishing tournaments and everything else? You can't do a fishing tournament in Frost Park. Anyway, you need to think about putting that back in the charter, that our parks are protected except and only way you can dispose of a park or give a long-term lease is through a referendum of the people of this city, because it's their parks, and it's been donated often privately. I would also like to say, you know, I had a discussion with somebody, you know, one of the things we tried, and by the way, that parcel that Clive Taylor talked about, that he'd like to buy a piece of it, that property was available to us for nothing if we had a willing seller. Bob Lozana told me a couple years later he was willing to sell it, but the only way the county money would go is if it was a willing buyer. We got some bad staff information, or at least Bob Lozana swears that gentleman would have sold it. You might look at the Part 150 in the master plan. Maybe you could acquire that parcel through some aviation without spending any money. Whatever. It would make a great waterfront park.
Absolutely.
And I'm glad they're talking about the park. And I mean, the pier, that pier was built, Bobby, John Bertino out there. I still got that picture in my living room of the five of us with that phony fish Bill Hyde was holding out that he bought at the fish store, that 15-pound grouper. Remember that, John? But anyway, that wood was only those are blowout panels, I believe she was talking about. They were only supposed to last about 30 years. I asked the question when they were building it. So those blowout panels, but you're lucky. We have got one of the few piers that was built higher. Maybe we were planning for sea level rise. That pier is in perfect shape structurally since 1994.
Yes.
And, you know, we got the platform. Remember, we made them build the platform because we had a lobbyist up in Tallahassee. You try to get a restaurant built now independent of the pier, and it's impossible. So, and by the way, Bobby and John, what happened to the plaques, the dedication plaques and all that? They disappeared.
They disappeared, yeah.
And, you know,
We
before
need
you
those.
leave, get your name back on there.
Thank you.
And the other thing, I'm totally in favor of the idle speed zone. I used to be on the Fort Lauderdale Chamber of Commerce Marine Advisory Board. We put on marine charrettes for 300 people. We did all kinds of things. And that idle speed zone is important to protect all the properties there, the washouts and everything else. If you say slow speed, that could be 30 mile an hour.
Yeah.
The other point I wanted to bring, I saw something, I'm going to have to leave now, but there's an item in here talked about, I think it's 9.1, just make sure that there's no way that you can get container storage put in through a special exception. We put that in the code a long time ago, and it might have got changed. And if you ever allow an opening for container storage, you'll never get rid of it. And it's an eyesight, it devalues the property. You don't want your valuable property being used for container storage, but there are some business owners in the port that would love to stick that kind of stuff over in our property. You don't want that. You don't want it near your casino. You don't want it near all your redevelopment. And if they sneak in here with a loophole and a special exception, they could hire a fancy attorney and tie you up for a long time.
Yeah.
Thank you, Mr. Mikes.
Anyway, I would just want to wish, I told Bobby I don't see the Georgia plates yet.
They're coming.
And I want to say we did some good. You and I were up there. We got some nice homes built around you over there. Remember when
Thank you so much, yes,
well,
John.
Because, you know, they were a lot of rental duplex crack houses we tore down. Then we changed the code.
Change the code, that's the
so
most
that
important
you
thing.
had to have a variance to build that kind of stuff. And how many variances did we give them? Zero.
Zero.
They all went single family. They
Yes,
really
that's what
nice
we needed.
structures.
Thank
Okay,
you.
nice speaking to you people.
Thank you.
Lauren Ottman.
Hello, Lauren Oddman, 2149 Anchor Court, Danny Beach, 33312, new address. I'm going to speak really quickly tonight about something I wanted to bring maybe 2 meetings ago, but I just got around to it now, called the Silver Tour. For those of you who don't know, we have our first medical marijuana dispensary opening sometime in the fall. Correct me if I'm wrong, it's Sterling and
Pippin Waiters Road.
Pippin Waiters. So since that time, I've had, primarily seniors who have asked me about this. The process of getting of how to get the card, all the formalities that you have to go through so that you can get your medication in there. And there are so many seniors who are excited about this, who either don't have their card, want to get it, or who already have their card but are traveling to Miami, I believe is the closest one. TrueLeave is the company that's coming down here. They're the only ones I'm familiar with. It's a very, it's a nice dispensary, and everything I've heard about it from the cannabis prescribing physicians or recommending physicians that I know have all said good things about this. So whether you were for it or against it, there's something called the Silver Tour, and it's sponsored by TrueLeave, and it's specifically meant to educate seniors who want to know more about this. So they come in and they talk about the myths and the this and that of cannabis, how it could possibly help you or not. And they have doctors come, nurses come, there's legal people there, and they talk about the whole spectrum of everything that's associated with getting your card and adding cannabis to your medical regime, if that's something that's going to be useful to you. And I just know that so many seniors have talked to me about providing relief for their diabetic neuropathy, people who are taking opiates and they weren't comfortable taking it in the long term, so they wanted to see. They didn't know if this would work for them, but they wanted the option to find out. And Florida just has it set it up. It's kind of a lengthy process. There's a couple of papers you have to fill out. Then you have to, you have to get the recommendation from the doctor. Then you have to send all that to the state. So having someone who kind of lays it out for you really easily and walks you through it seems like something that could be very helpful. I have nothing to do with the senior tour. I've spoken to the gentleman who does the production. I've spoken to the representative from TrueLeave who books it. They're all very nice, but I have nothing to do with them other than other cities that have booked it. They've seemed to really find it to be useful, so I wanted to pass along the information since so many of our residents have told me that they really, really, really would love if Dania Beach did this.
Commissioner Brandon Marty.
10 times you used the word seniors. I would say that was morely it really started for children. If you recall, it was about them having seizures and stuff like that. Now I want to tell you something. It'd be a cold day in hell when I'd invite them to my senior meeting to introduce them on how to use marijuana. But I do understand, though, that I was told that there's a doctor right here on Federal Highway. You go in there, and he'll give you the card that you can purchase.
Where?
Huh? Over by where that lady has her shop that you know. You got it.
What? Where?
Right. That there's
By
a doctor
AMO?
over there. You just go to him, and he'll give you, as I understood, a prescription.
Right.
And now it's beginning to ring a bell with me over something that had happened, Lauren, at our last commission meeting here, when we had someone
What
come here
happened?
wanting to expand. Now it's beginning to make sense to me.
It doesn't make sense to me.
It
I don't know what are you talking about?
You weren't at the last meeting.
What?
Now, no, someone had come before us to want to expand their business on Federal Highway, and I don't
the
want to talk.
doctor.
I don't want to talk about it anymore. Now that I think about it, because I'm going to go there myself. But anyway, I think that physicians should explain it to the patients, not bring it to my club. I'm not going to invite them to come to the seniors to talk about marijuana.
Okay, it's just to be clear though, and I'm going to give you all the information and you can do with it what you want. It doesn't teach them how to use marijuana. It covers all aspects of it. Getting the recommendation from the doctor is only part one. You have to send a whole thing to the state and a whole kind of money order and a picture that has to be a certain way. So there's these little things that can be a little bit confusing. And like I said, I'm just passing along the information from
I'll
something
take it.
that residents have messaged me that they want, and hopefully one way or another we'll get it to them. Thank you.
I'll
Thank
take your
you.
information for sure.
Amy Campbell Oates.
I was going to say.
Hi, please state your name and address for the record.
Amy Campbell Oates, 277 Southwest 7th Street. I'm here to propose that Dania Beach starts a green team, and I help create it. Dania Beach doesn't have a green team, and it makes the city really stand out. So events that we could do to help first off, tackle plastic pollution. We could have beach cleanups. We could partner with the Surfrider Foundation and a club at my school called the Plastic Free Mermaids, who also tackle plastic pollution by having beach cleanups on the beach or in the city itself. To try to educate the community about the harm of plastics, we could have events at maybe Frost Park or the Patch to teach kids about it and try to help the community eliminate the plastic that they use, single-use plastic. And then eventually try to push a ban on like plastic bags, etc., in stores in Dania Beach. To tackle the waste problem, we could try to encourage composting at the Patch. We could try to partner with them to help compost go there and then help the plants. Because the waste that gets thrown away gets put into landfills, and it's so tightly compacted that methane is released from it, which is a very harmful greenhouse gas. So composting is actually really important, and a lot of people don't realize that. And then to tackle energy, Fort Lauderdale Green Team did a Flip the Switch challenge, which encouraged businesses to turn off computers and lights when they're gone in order to save energy. And they would give an incentive or a reward or recognition to a company that used the least amount of energy or saved more energy. And it worked in Fort Lauderdale, so I thought we could adopt that here. And yeah, so I thought we could have events at Frost Park and the Patch, and it would really be great for Dania Beach.
I have a question for you. Have you ever thought about starting your own organization? Because it seems like if you started your own organization, the Green Team, whatever it is, you wouldn't be limited to Dania Beach. You would be able to go to any city and have these events, and it can be a very good and big thing if that's what you wanted. Have you thought about that?
Yeah, I've thought about that, and I thought that I could start at Dania Beach, but it could go either way.
Okay. Well, I'm going to introduce you right now to our Parks Director. His name is Eric Brown. And if you want to do anything in conjunction with the parks, they'll be your go-to. And then the Patch is our CRA Director at the back. Her name is Raquel Williams. So those are two directions that you would want to go in. But thank you for your willingness to serve. We really need more young people like yourself.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you. Okay.
That's right. It's okay.
Oh, sorry, Commissioner Salvino.
I was just going to suggest, can you hear me?
Yes.
I was just going to suggest that maybe she wants to join one of our Oasis cleanups with all the plastic there to start off with and see what we accumulate. Because I remember a couple of years ago we did the Oasis project and we picked up all the plastic. The plastic was put separately, and we built a statue out here. They had formed it in metal and filled it with the plastic and utilized the plastic in other ways that was pretty neat. So I encourage you to maybe get with our Oasis project where you see all the plastics picked up, and maybe they can give you some ideas to work with your program.
Public safety reports.
Good evening, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Commissioners.
Good evening.
I'll make this brief. Earlier today, there was a home invasion robbery in Central Broward. One of our gang units got behind the vehicle. Next thing he knew, he was heading towards Dania Beach on 95. He jumped on our radio channel. One of our day shift sergeants was on I-95 in Griffin, and he was the backup. They ended up down at Dade County. It was on the news. So that's why there was a Dania Beach unit down there, but they got the guy in custody, and nobody was injured. So that was a plus there. Our crime suppression team and criminal investigations are currently working a bunch of leads in reference to the boat theft that we had that was on a trailer and the numerous key fobs that I've mentioned in the past where vehicles are stolen with key fobs left inside the vehicles. Our COP unit has been busy. Yesterday, they passed out 240 of the See Something, Say Something flyers at the Beach Walk at Sheridan Apartments. They've been a integral part of our crime prevention unit, going out and walking these different areas where we've experienced an increase in mainly auto burglaries. Tomorrow morning is the Take Your Child to School Day, 7 a.m. at Collins Elementary.
Okay, Marco, I have to do this, I have to do it. I'll pick you up.
You might be able to go straight from here. And then October 31st from 5 p.m. to 8 p.m. is the annual Fall Festival and National Night Out on Crime, and that's at C.W. Thomas Park, so we hope to see everybody out there. That completes my report.
That's it. Thank you.
Thank you, Danny. Chief, Danny?
Good evening, City Commission, City Staff. Sean Brown with Broward Sheriff's Office. I have nothing this evening.
We knew that.
Thank you.
Hey, all right.
Did I help?
No, that's about it.
You guys have a great evening. Any questions for me before I go?
No.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thanks, Sean. Consent agenda, do we have any polls?
No.
Motion to approve?
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right, we're going to move on to our public hearings.
9-1 is an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, to amend Chapter 28 of the Land Development Code of the City's Code of Ordinances by amending Article 115, Industrial Districts, Permitted, Prohibited, Special Exception Uses, and Conditions of Use to address conditions of use for parking facilities, amending Article 635, Site Plan to address site plan modification regulations, amending Article 675, Temporary Use and Special Event Permit to create a waiver process for the number of special events per year, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, providing for inclusion in the city code, further providing for an effective date, final second reading of this ordinance.
Hey, Corinne.
Good evening.
Good evening.
This is second reading of the ordinance. I went through my presentation. Nothing has changed since first reading. I can answer any questions if you have any.
Well, I definitely have a question now that Mr. Mikes came up. Do we have anything that, in the special exceptions, that would allow container storage?
I recall what he was talking about, and I know that we do have some regulations regarding them. I don't recall if it was a special exception or a conditional use, but I do remember something about limiting the number of containers that can be stacked because we didn't want a wall of them. And I have a feeling they're allowed in the IG because that's the zoning that is located on the north side of the canal. So it is allowed, but with a lot of restrictions, and I can't recall exactly what they are at the moment.
Okay. Okay, this is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right.
9-2, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 8 entitled Buildings, Article 1 in general, Section 8-7 fencing requirements for commercial properties under construction, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date, second and final reading of this ordinance.
This is the same. It is second reading. This is for some of the changes that were presented at first reading regarding construction fence and the graphics on those. So I'm available if you have any questions.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
9-3, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, amending Chapter 6 entitled Beaches, Parks, Waterways, and Recreation of the City Code of Ordinances to amend Section 6-12 entitled Fishing, Skin Diving, Scuba Diving, Spear Fishing, Launching of Boats, and Operating Vehicles of Article 1 in general to confirm the prohibition of fishing and surf cast fishing on and from the beach during the hours between 9 a.m. and 6 p.m., providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date, second and final reading of this ordinance.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
9-4, an ordinance of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, authorizing the expenditure of city funds exceeding $1 million for Broward County Permitting, Licensing, and Consumer Protection Division of the Environmental Protection and Growth Management Department, providing for severability, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date, second reading of this ordinance.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed?
Yeah, the next two items are known as quasi-judicial items. Anybody who's going to address the city commission on the next two items, which is for the Popeyes restaurant to be located on Federal Highway, and the plat note amendment for Elliott Miller, including staff. Anybody who's going to speak or address the commission? You swear affirm testimony you give, be the truth, whole truth, and nothing but the truth. Thank you very much. 9.5, a resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the variance request VA 5918 submitted by Properties LLC doing business as Popeyes for property located at 506 South Federal Highway in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts and further providing for an effective date.
Good evening. Corinne LaJoy, Planning and Zoning Manager. This is a variance request for signs. The zoning of the property is South Federal Highway mixed use, and it is located in the Regional Activity Center. This is the former Kentucky Fried Chicken restaurant site. We have a Popeyes that is coming in, and they're currently doing work on the property today. One of the things that they're looking to do is not only renovate the site, but update the signs and change the signs for their brand. So this is what the site looks like today. As you can tell, its reconstruction is well underway. They're asking for signs, additional signage. So there's 3 variances that they're requesting tonight. The first is to allow an additional wall sign on the east building elevation. The Land Development Code only allows 1 sign per street elevation, and they want 2. They're also, along with that, because it's a second sign, the area exceeds what is allowed. So they're asking for 51.74 square feet, where the code allows 44.25. They're also wanting a monument sign. The Land Development Code allows monument signs only if the building is set back 30 feet. This building is only set back 24 feet, so they're asking for a variance from that requirement as well. So overall, they're going to have 2 wall signs facing Federal Highway, 1 wall sign facing Southwest 5th Street, as well as a monument sign that would be on this Federal Highway side as well. So this is what the Federal Highway side will look like. Here's the first sign. This is the second sign. This will have the logo that really didn't show up. It's that same logo will be down here. And this is the monument sign that they're proposing. That will all be visible from Federal. As you know, the land development regulations have criteria for establishing variances specific to signs. The applicant was able to address all those criteria in their application packet, which is part of the packet that you have before you. And the staff's recommending approval of the resolution. And I know the applicant or representative for the applicant is here as well if you have any questions of them.
You want to come up and speak? Okay, we're going to see. Commissioner Savino?
I have questions.
So you can come up, sir. I guess the most popular question is going to be.
When are you going to open?
Yeah, that's, thanks.
Okay, well, thank you for taking the thunder away.
I'm glad that they are
I'm
doing
not done.
work.
I was going to ask you a question.
Yes.
That's not the question.
That's part 1.
The question is, not when you're going to open, but why is it taking so long? The job starts and stops. You could build a 4-story building by the time you guys got on there. And honestly, it's an eyesore sitting on the city. And I oppose even thinking about giving you anything because I see nothing happening. So why would we want to give you a variance if you can't keep people on the building every day?
I represent the sign companies,
Okay.
and I agree with you. It has been very difficult to work through this bureaucratic ownership process. The owners are in Dallas, and they have a number of properties along the beaches in Florida, and I think they just got overwhelmed with too many projects going on at the same time. It took me 4 months to get the signed authorization for me to be their agent to represent them because of all the bureaucratic minutia that took place from Dallas to the sign company, which was in Raleigh, North Carolina. So I agree with you. But they are now committed. That's why they've been pressing me to make sure that this hearing was held so they can move ahead and order the signs so when the construction is complete, the signs can go up.
You know, that I don't mean to sound derogatory towards this project, but I don't know why I would give them anything when they can't do the project. I mean, you know, variance request. And listen, I believe in the monument sign. I'm in business, and I think that signage is very important. The fact is that they're asking for this stuff, and I just don't see them committed to that building. And if they're not committed to the building, I don't know why I'd be in favor of giving them a variance. That's just my opinion. I mean, if they were sitting there going to make a commitment, they're going to be on that job site every day, I'm not opposed to it. But the project has been sitting there for over a year. They work 2 days, they stop for 2 weeks. They work 2 days, they stop for 2 weeks. You know, that's the reason I'm opposed to giving them a variance at this point. I'm not saying I won't vote that way.
That's out of my control, so I
understand that.
agree
Well, I
with
mean,
you.
it may be something that I've asked the commission that maybe you should bring it back in a month when we see a month's worth of work coming back to them and see that they're on the project and see that they're getting the job done. I mean, it's just my opinion.
Vice Mayor?
Did you do this, the signage for the Popeye's Chicken on East Commercial Boulevard that's
No.
nearly new? It's probably an identical operation, but you didn't do the signs
No.
there? But, okay, thanks. I mean, just so people could see what the finished product is gonna look like. Yeah, it's pretty nice.
It's a very minimal variance. I work for clients all over the state of Florida. I'm representing the sign company because they couldn't be here. And so I don't profess to be an expert coming in from town to tell you how to run everything, but this is a variance, and as Corinne mentioned, we were able to satisfy all of the findings of fact that are required to be found on a statutory basis to meet the hardship situations and so forth. So the orderliness and timeliness is something that I can certainly tell them. The variance, the commission was very hesitant to consider, especially grant, hoping you would grant and get them on a timeline to complete. Because it is a very blighted building and blighted lot.
Go ahead. Can we do the variance contingent upon a completion date, Thomas?
I would suggest you continue it as Mr. Casalvino is proposing.
You know, well, sorry, Mayor.
No,
You know, I have no problem with approving the variances. That's not the issue. The issue is that we allow them to have what they want. They're going to still be stagnant. They've shown no signs of commitment on that building. If they want to get the sign variances, which I think the commission probably, not speaking for them, would probably be in favor of, but if maybe we held them up for 60 days, maybe the building would get done and you get your variance. I mean, that's just my opinion. I don't know why we would reward them with a variance when they're not doing their job. That's just my opinion.
My opinion is if we delay them, they're still going to be delayed, and the project is going to be delayed. And
Much
so
longer
if
can
we
it
are,
be delayed, Mayor? It's been a year.
No, listen, I've been wanting Popeye's Chicken for a long time, so I'm with you all. It is an eyesore, and, you know, we do need to express how concerning this is, especially with our rebranding efforts. In the business that sits right across the street from you all, it is an eyesore and a deterrent. But in the same thing, at the same time, you know, delaying them is going to delay them. I mean, we want it to get done. I mean, I don't think that us threatening or telling them we're not going to give you this is going to make them work any faster, in my opinion. They're in Dallas. I mean, that's just my opinion. I feel as if it's already been approved. We continue to allow them to do. No, it's up to us. We're going to vote on it, but that's just my feelings on it. I'm going to ask the public if they have anything to say, if we don't have any other discussion from here.
I do. My light's on.
Oh, Commissioner Grace.
Yeah, through the city attorney, if we decide to approve your signage with a stipulation that they work on that building constantly ASAP, and you said you will contact the owners of this building, because we've had some problems in the city before with people not completing their projects, and we want to make sure that everything that we do, especially when we have so much going on in the city of Dania Beach right now that's very positive, we don't want a negative element. I certainly don't want that building to keep sitting there not finished. I want that building to be finished. So through the attorney, can we put that as a stipulation that we will approve this and then send them a letter that we need them to expedite and work on this building and finish the project as soon as possible?
Mark, do you have any information on this by any chance?
Yeah, I want to know who's going to regulate it if we do that. You got to have somebody monitoring it every day.
Mark LaFerrier, Community Development Director. I've been listening to the conversation that the representative described with with his client, and that's very similar to the sort of the relationship we've had with the builder also. They've been start and stop and start and stop. The permits have been issued, so they can proceed with construction. And the sign would be a part of the final approval
That's what
for
I
this
thought.
project.
I know, I felt that if we just delayed the sign, that they would get on the bandwagon and get the building going, and, you know,
Could get their attention.
Yeah, well.
Yeah, they
I
already
mean,
have the approval.
Well, there's nothing that prohibits you from having Mark write to them.
Right.
Saying that the
The-
commission is very dissatisfied
Right.
with the speed on this project. They're not willing to approve anything further if there's not substantial progress made on this, something to that
Sure, I'll
effect.
do that.
Well, if we could, I mean, my just opinion, if we could ask them to send a letter and have them bring it back up in either 2 weeks or 4 weeks to approve the variance, to see if they get the job going on a constant basis. I know I would be in favor of approving the variance if we could see that they make a commitment back on the project. I don't know if we can do that or not, because I know you can't force somebody to do the job, and I don't think it'll hold up the signage whatsoever as far as they're gonna go. The Popeye signs are made, you know, I mean, somewhere, I mean, the templates are made. I mean, they just gotta make them, and it may take a little longer, but as long as they're taking to do this building, the signs will be done long before the building's complete.
I'm not talking about the signs. I'm just talking about them having to come back for a variance. He just said it took him 4 months
Well, we can
or 3
ask,
months
we can
to
put it
get
back on the agenda in 2 weeks.
Mayor, what I could do is I'll contact the property owner and the builder tomorrow, have them give us a schedule when they want to complete their construction.
Okay.
That could be a part of information provided to the
Okay.
commission when
All
they
right.
make if they continue this, make a decision at a subsequent meeting.
But you can continue it if you wish,
That's-
to know that
It's up to
they,
the commission. You know, just a thought,
I asked for your opinion. What was your opinion?
my opinion is I wouldn't do it that way, because we have no way to monitor daily work on the building, unfortunately. But if you continue it, that sends a message to them that you're very dissatisfied. The minutes could be sent out so that you would see it, and they would understand.
Can we
any
put it
further-
back on the agenda in 2 weeks or 4 weeks?
We could bring it back to October 9 or October 23.
Well,
well, what-
will that be second reading or?
No, there's no
There's no
reason.
second
It's
reading.
just,
Continue.
it's just
Resolution.
continuing the
I
variance.
recommend to the commission that
Well,
we
we
bring it
can't
back
do-
on
we have
October
to-
9th and see, I'm sorry?
We have to
Public hearing.
let them
The public.
talk first before
Okay.
we do anything. Vice Mayor, your light is on.
Yeah, we can bring it back on October the 9th, but
Yeah.
in the meantime, could we put some pressure on the building owners
That's
to
the
have
plan.
a status report or an update or a completion date by October the 9th in order to approve the variance? Is that reasonable?
Yes.
My question to this commission is they can give us a date, but how many projects give us a date and it's
It's not-
completed by that date? No, what I'm saying is Vice Mayor's asking for a report that's going to tell us
Yep.
this is what they're going to do. Of course, they're going to tell us this is what they're going to do. I mean,
Okay.
they're builders. And so I don't know if like having them do reports is the thing
I'll make
because,
another recommendation.
hold on. Commissioner Brandywine?
Instead of approving the signage, why don't you think about working it around the other way? We'll approve the signage contingent to the fact that we're going to see progress with the building.
Can't do that.
Because if you just give them the signage,
they're not gonna do
they haven't got anything to work for.
Mark,
I don't know, that's up to you guys, I'm with you guys on that.
This is, who else needs to speak? Commissioner Savino?
One more question. Mark, what do you anticipate that building, I mean, if they went to work on it, how long do you think a building like that would take to finish? Any idea?
I would need a little bit of prep to give you a good answer on
The
that.
reason, the only thing I'm saying is that if, you know, we tell them that they gotta come to work and get out there on the job site and start working and see activity being made, I think that if you see October 9th, if we put on there in 2 weeks, and, you know, I mean, I don't think the gentleman needs to even come back. I mean, I mean, we can approve it without him being here. I don't think anybody's against approving the signage.
No.
I think that if we see that if he calls them up and tells them, you guys need to go back to work, or October 9th is gonna come around, if they don't see him be on the property, they're not gonna approve the variance.
Good.
I mean, and I would just ask the commission to just bring it back up October 9th for the same resolution, Tom. That's all I'm asking.
That's what I would recommend to do.
Okay.
Okay.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Okay,
Be a motion to continue to 10
Motion to
October.
continue to October 9th.
I'll second that.
So I have a question now that we have a motion in a second. What happens if October 9th comes and you've seen minimal improvement because we don't know what obstacles they're already facing?
Well, all five of us can make that judgment at that time, Mayor.
No, what I'm asking is what would be your attitude then? Like, you seen minimal improvement or they weren't there every single day, which none of us is gonna know unless we're driving by and regulating ourselves. But if it's not to your satisfaction, I guess I'm trying to figure out what the delay is for. Is it a delay to not give them an approval of the signs, or is it just a delay to tell them that we're dissatisfied?
The delay is to make a statement that they need to get the job done.
And our building department manager will come back and let us know what they have done to address our concerns.
Okay.
You take a vote.
Call the roll, please.
Commissioner Brandemart?
Yes.
Commissioner Grace?
Yes.
Commissioner Salvino?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Harris?
Yes.
Mayor James?
Yes.
Thank you.
9.6, resolution of the City Commission of the City of Dania Beach, Florida, approving the plat note amendment to allocation request DR 7118 application submitted by Richard Rosa Esquire with Richard N. Rosa, PA, on behalf of the property owner Elliot L. Miller for property located at 3201 Griffin Road in the City of Dania Beach, Florida, as legally described in Exhibit A, a copy of which is attached to this resolution, providing for conflicts, further providing for an effective date.
Good evening, Corinne LaJoy. This application is for a plat note amendment for, oops, it just keeps going, for the property at 3201 Griffin Road. It is an existing property, an existing building. It is a C2 zoning of the property. There's a couple different zoning districts, but where the building itself sits, it is C2. The property is located on the northwest corner of Griffin and Southwest 32nd Avenue. There's currently a 4-story building on the property, and there's the applicant wants to move a daycare on the ground floor. However, there's a plat note that restricts that activity. So in order to satisfy the county, that's what they're asking for, is to amend that note. This is the building itself. It doesn't really front on Griffin Road, but this is the view from 32nd Avenue. So you can see through all the beautiful trees, there's that 4-story building, and they're wanting to occupy a portion of the ground floor for the daycare. So the plat note, there's 2 parcels, like I said. The parcel B is where the office is, and currently it's restricted to 18,500 square feet of office use. Because of that note, the county flagged it and would not allow the daycare to go in. So what they're asking for now is to amend that parcel B note to identify that uses would be consistent with the city's C2 zoning and to permit the daycare center to open and operate at that location on that property. With that, we're recommending approval of the resolution to amend that plat note, and I know a representative from the applicant is here as well if you have any questions for them.
Commissioner Grace?
So the daycare is on the 2nd floor now? And they
No.
want to,
From what I understand, it's on the ground floor. And there was permits that were issued, and so they had begun to do the work, but they also have to get permits through the county, and the county stopped it when they noticed that note that restricted it to office. So they were kind of at a standstill until we can amend the note.
This is a public hearing. Anyone to speak for or against this?
Move the item, Mayor.
second.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? All right. Commissioner comments. Commissioner Brandemart?
Yeah. I'm asking the commission to look into postponing the October meeting with Runcie and Murray, as I understand, regarding the Olson School property until after elections. And I want to tell you the reason why. It's too controversial. We're not all on the same page about Olson School, and it's getting political. My goodness, we have a gentleman here that's running for office in the head of the Lions Club, Jim Silvernail, and yet the person that's on the board is the one that's going to be there. And I think that it's becoming political. So I would like to see them postpone it for that reason, because it's only 6 weeks that we'll be having elections, and I think it should be done after when the new board up here is changed over to the new people that are running.
Can I ask you a question?
You know, Yes.
No, are decisions going to be made at this meeting?
Well, the point is this, we were never even invited.
Yeah, I'm not going to be here, so I'm just,
Well, Mayor, then then I'm gonna add it to it. Plus, the mayor won't be here, so I don't think it should take place.
And I'm not gonna be here.
No, I just think it's getting too political for that meeting over there. I placed 5 phone calls out to Anne Murray personally, and she couldn't find the time to even answer one back again. First of all, like I say, it's a controversy, because if they're going after us tearing down all of Olson School for over $800,000 and not give us the property, here's the first vote against it, because I will not do that with the taxpayers' money. That's how I feel on that. And I also would like to remind the commission that we were elected to our positions by the residents because they trusted us to do the right thing and to spend their tax dollars responsibly. The right thing does not mean that we, the commission, are held to any decisions also made, this is on another subject, by any board in this city. And this is where this is coming from. I got a phone call from a person that attended a local board meeting, specifically the Arts Council Board. And they told me what was taking place at this meeting, and I called the city attorney to ask him if he had been asked to put up, to make up any papers that people in neighborhoods had to sign in order to get 2 commissioners out of 5 commissioners' faces on the wraps on boxes.
You
I
said a piece of
understand
paper?
from the city attorney that he had not been asked. Am I correct, Tom?
I was asked initially to begin paperwork, because I had told people from the Arts Council, before you're going to use pictures of people who are deceased, you're going to need permission from their relatives if they object to that. And you'd have to check with a lot of relatives before you do that, because some people don't want that done. So that was the beginning, and I haven't done anything since that time, pending a direction from the commission.
Thank you. This too is another controversial issue, because I don't see how 2 commissioners, unless I was misinformed, out of 5 faces are being picked to be put on these wraps in the city. I just don't. I want my face on the wrap. Let me tell you something. What do I got to do? Get up there and tell you everything I've done from the city from the year I moved here, becoming citizen of the year in less than 2 years? It's just not a right thing to do. I don't even know the message it's sending out. People drive through our city. They don't stop here. They see your face on a box. They don't know who you are. And I don't see where any commissioner should be on that box without all 5 of us. That's the way I really feel about it. It's wrong. And not only that, but also I understand from this Arts Council that does not have the final say in what goes on those boxes. As far as I'm concerned, they're our taxpayers' dollars. Mr. Frost, he's the founder, one of the founders of Dania. Mr. Parker donated, as you were speaking, well, Mike isn't here, IT Parker property. That was all donated by Mr. Parker. A.J. Ryan in 1925 opened his first real estate office. Mrs. Ryan opened the first library. Frank Salvino, family of farmers of broccoli tomatoes, farmers that gave us the name tomato capital of the world. The Ford Collins family, the Jesse Davis family, Peterman, Ankersons. The history of Dania Beach is full of pioneers. I don't hear any of those names, but yet I hear that 2 commissioners were picked out of 5 of us to have their pictures on box frames. But I also, in all fairness, want to say that also I understand at this meeting that it was stated that our director was not all in favor of all of this anyway. So that's all in fairness. And yeah, I want you to answer.
Good evening, Raquel Williams, CRA Director. The CRA serves as the liaison for the Creative Arts Council Advisory Board, and any proposal for images on any signal boxes within the city will come before the CRA Board / City Commission for approval. So anything discussed during CAC meetings, no final decision can be made without your final approval and say.
Raquel, That's a nice thing to say. However, darling, what I don't like is the fact that this commission or the next commission of the Arts Council never even were asked before this vote was taken or whatever happened at the other meeting. None of us were asked whose faces we'd like to see on there.
Well, there are two signal boxes being discussed by the Creative Arts Council. As you know, several years ago, the Creative Arts Council did wraps on several of the other signal boxes. There are a few boxes that have yet to be wrapped. One of them is located across from Addicks Middle School, and the other one is located on US 1 and the corner of First Street, close by that Metalworks building. The intent behind the Addicks Middle School box was to reflect from what I understand from the discussion of the board, is that it is to reflect the culture of the community and inspire the middle school students that traverse back and forth, on that street every day. So I think the intent of the box with the images on it of commissioners was to inspire those students with people that are currently inspirational in that community and that they could identify with. That is what I understand as the intent behind that selection. And there were other notable people that were also selected to be on the box, not just some of the commissioners. So again, anything that is going to go on the box will ultimately be voted on and decided on by the city commission.
Well, I'm hoping that our city attorney takes his time on getting these approvals within those communities, because I personally don't like the message it's sending out. I don't. It's wrong. There are 5 of us. Each one of us is just as important in this community as the next one. And that's how I feel, and boy, I am known for telling you like it is. So I, for one, would never, ever agree with 2 commissioners out of 5 being picked to be put on those wraps. I just want you to know where I'm coming from. I don't know how the rest of it feels, but it makes me feel like my 20 years of volunteering in one place, 20 years in another, all of that means nothing. It all means absolutely nothing if you could just single out 2 commissioners out of 5 of us. I'm done talking.
You want to respond, or?
I have nothing else at this
Okay.
time, unless there are other questions.
I don't know. Commissioner Savino, this light is on.
Yeah, I just would like to make a comment on that. Personally, I would never vote for anybody's face. I don't care who it is on the box. I think that all the boxes were designed and were sent under the image that we were having that Dania Beach. I think when we look on the boxes the Art Council put out, sea life and other things that are out there. Those are the images that I think that we should establish throughout the city. Putting people's faces on there is just, there's so many people's, you're going to hurt so many feelings by putting so many people out there that are deserving of these things. It's just a wrong direction to go in. I would be opposed to putting that on there, just to let you know.
And Raquel,
hold on. Okay.
In closing, I want to tell you, I saw something that I found to be so wonderful down in Hallandale. What they did was they went to their schools. Like, for instance, our mayor, her son, can draw something, even if it meant nothing to you, but it meant something to him. And that's the ones that they put on their wrap boxes, all that were done by young children in their schools. I'd take that over your artists any day of the week. First of all, your artists get paid. They get paid good bucks, too. Some of them for more than one box. I say the children, that's our future. That's the way I feel. Let the children design the boxes. I would love it.
Commissioner Grace?
I just want to piggyback on what Commissioner Brandon Marty said, especially about the Olson Middle School property. I think that should be tabled until, we actually have the new commission sat here to discuss it. I mean, the superintendent had the opportunity to work with this commission on getting a fair share for that property, doing the right thing, and the current board did not see fit to do that. So I think at this time if we're gonna wait a little while longer and, till after, the November election, that would be fine. The second thing is, I have a terrific idea, especially about the, I'm sure that I don't know exactly who, and I kind of got the hint that maybe one of the names was Bobby H. Grace, but I can tell you sincerely, she doesn't need any accolades. She's got them all already because somebody has given them to her that's higher than any Arts and Creative Council. But I have a real good idea for that one at, in front of Attucks Middle School, that if we can do the Eagle, because that is Christopher Attucks. That's where he started.
Wow.
That is the Eagle. We still have in existence from 1996 until the existence right now, the Alumni Association with the first graduating class of 1952 to 1968. That will be something that everybody could live with. So if you can take that back to the Arts Creative Council and ask them to entertain that idea, I think that would be really nice. Under my taste of Dayton
Wait,
Beach.
it's not, wait. It's not your comments yet. We're still at Commissioner Brandon Marty.
oh,
But
that was it?
I do have
Okay.
something,
Notice
I
I'm
guess,
getting ready
to
to go
add.
home. Okay.
I would like to add something. I don't need your help. Thank you. I have the opportunity, because I'm sure if one of us heard it, all of us heard it, to listen to that meeting. And I listened to it with such disgust, and there was such disrespect that was shown to that board and this commission. And I, for one, would never, as I understand it, the artist came up with this, who I don't even know who the artist is, came up with this drawing or whatever it is, because they said they can't and they don't tell the artist what to draw or when to draw it, and it just went from a place to where it wasn't an issue with the people on the boxes. It was an issue because I guess I was nominated and Commissioner Grace was nominated, because I'm just going to be very clear. I don't want anybody to be trying to figure out which commissioner. They were speaking about myself and Commissioner Grace. I'm not going to apologize for the service that I've done. I'm not going to apologize for who I am, and I'm definitely not going to apologize because someone else saw fit to honor the work that we have done in that community. I can tell you this: if they came to me with the signal box that was across the street from was on the casino's property, and they wanted to do it of Mr. Frost to honor Frost Park and all of the great things he's done, I would never vote against that. If they came to me and they wanted to honor anyone for anything they've done, I would never vote against that. The most racist comments that were made in that meeting that night are disgusting, and it just tells you where we are socially within our society. And I don't think because of a color it should be limited. Maybe we should have one that have all whites on it. I just think that's disgusting language that shouldn't even be tolerated or even thought of or brought up in such meetings. Again, I didn't ask to be on the box. I don't think anyone asked to be on the box. I didn't ask to have a street named after me, but it's named after me. I heard comments about, well, what if I go murder somebody, or if I go sell drugs or something like that, you're going to have to remove my face off the box? Like, I beg your pardon. I don't know who. I wish I could have been in that room, but God saw fit that I wasn't, because I don't hold my tongue just like a lot of you don't hold your tongue. And I'm just not going to apologize for the work we've done. If they come back and they want to have another box and they wanted to honor you, Commissioner Brandon Marty, I wouldn't vote against it. If they wanted to come back and have a box that want to honor anyone, I wouldn't vote against that. I mean, I just believe that we should give people their flowers while they're living. And in a neighborhood where I've been to Attucks, I've been to Bethune, I've been to all these schools, and I've grown up in this community. And yeah, they ride by, but yeah, they know me by my face. They know me by my name. When I go into schools, when I see kids walking by, they're able to say, "Hi, Miss Tamara." It's not just a drive-by for me. I really put my blood, sweat, and tears in anything that I do. And to just say that it doesn't mean anything it means a lot to those kids in the community. They have a lot of people that are successful that leave these communities and they never come back. They don't know what it is to be tangible, to touch Commissioner Brandamati or Commissioner Grace or Commissioner Salvino unless we're dead. All they do is they see obituaries. All they do is they're able to say what happened before, but never what's happening right now. And so this is not something we're voting on, but you brought it up, so I wanted to tell what I wanted to tell as well. I'm not going to go and tell a board what they should or shouldn't draw, because we didn't tell them what they should have drew on the rest of them. And now we want to change the rules because someone is being honored. And so that's something that we'll, I guess, argue and fight about or fuss about or discuss at the CRA meeting. But I'm going to go back to you, Commissioner Brandamati. It was your time for your comments.
Yeah, no, I just
oh, you're
want-
finished?
Just want that, them to take their time on that till after the new election.
Speed it up, Tom. Commissioner Grace.
No, Tom.
I can tell you this, if I may, I really can't do anything until I know what I'm doing, if it's a person on the box.
Right.
So until there's a vote by
Just
the,
do your job.
we'll know then.
Okay. Commissioner Grace.
Well, I didn't know about the meeting, and I really don't care, to be honest with you. I'm above all of that. Seriously. I mean, it's not that deep, really. So I think that we should do what is good for Dania Beach. We have not had any controversy over the other signal boxes, and I don't think we should have any over these either. And let's move on, because we should be bigger than that. This is 2018, ladies and gentlemen. Let's stop the nonsense. And for those people that, if they did say the negative things that they did, then that's very tactful, distactful. It really is. And today is my day, tomorrow might be yours. So just be careful how you try to step on people, because it comes back to you. I'm above all of that. My mom and my dad taught me to never try to tear down somebody else's reputation by building yours up. That, to me, that's just ludicrous. It really is. I certainly want to thank all of you who attended the Taste of Dania Beach at the Hotel Morrison. It was a great affair. It really was. And we had a lot of fun. We ate a lot of food. We drank a lot of drinks, and we danced a lot of dances. And we networked and talked together. It was a really great atmosphere. And then I want to thank my fellow commissioners for attending the Sisterhood Luncheon. I thought that it showed what I'm talking about right now, TEAM work. We were there in support of each other, and that's what it's all about. I'm not up here to make friends with anybody. I'm not here to be your buddy. I'm here to do a job, but I'm also here to respect the people on this dais and the people in this audience and the people in the TV audience that I represent. And one thing I really like about it, I like the idea that we don't have districts, because when I walk through this city, I can go everywhere in Dania Beach, and everybody knows the name Bobby H. Grace.
That's right.
Good, bad, or indifferent. Thank you.
Commissioner Salvino.
That's me. I'd like to just make a short comment on the event that we went to on Saturday. I have to tell you that it just, besides all the awards that you received, Bobby, the ladies that were there that received the awards as well, there was a lot of accomplishments that were there. Some that you just cannot believe, the doctors that were there, and the representatives of other organizations. It was very, very impressive, and it was put on nicely. And I have to tell you that, Bobby, when you got your awards, you made Dania Beach proud. You really did. Yeah. And also, it's pretty neat, because I've never been to college, so you saw the sorority sisters that were in there, and they sang a song, and as they sang, they walked, and like they're walking down the aisle of a wedding, and as they walked up, and they were talking about friends, they reach over and they touch your shoulder. And the girl that sang, she should be a superstar. When you hear it up front, I mean, she had an absolutely beautiful voice. But anyhow, I just want to congratulate you again.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
As far as the things around Dania right now, we have a lot going on. We've attended a lot of the groundbreakings, and and ribbon cuttings at all the Dania Point project. And just, you know, there's a lot that's happening, and I just have to tell you that the commission is very, very busy right now with all the new buildings going up. You know, we're asked to come to and go to all these events. Sometimes we go to two. Right now, we're going to almost 1 or 2 or 3 ribbon cuttings or groundbreakings a week, and it's getting bigger. Aspen Dental just opened up. They had a great facility. They were taking patients while we were in there in the ribbon cutting, and they had a lot of people in there. And Starbucks is getting ready to open this week. We just got an invite for that. And one of the things that, on the last part of this, one thing that did impress me, we had the groundbreaking of Avery, which is the new residential properties that are going to go in the Dania Point project. Avery was named after Stuart Meyer's granddaughter's middle name. He named after his granddaughter, which is really something that she should feel very proud of. The thing that really gets to me is I talked to Mr. Meyer, very nice guy. His projects are huge. He's actually building his own home inside of the Dania Point project. And that's the second person, because I know that Dan Patel also built one of his that owns the Comfort Suites. So all these developers are not just building, they're moving into Dania Beach. So that just shows you our growth and what we're representing. So the residents of Dania Beach should be really, really proud of what's going on here. Thank you, Mayor.
Vice Mayor.
Congratulations to Commissioner Grace again on that nice event on Saturday. I was happy to do a video that I sent you.
Yes.
The singers, like the commissioner said, they sang That's What Friends Are For, and it was a whole room full of really good fellowship. They also honored Mayor Hazel Rogers of Lauderdale Lakes and several other very accomplished women, and I was happy to be there. Everything else that's happening, there's a lot happening. There's like ribbon cuttings and grand openings and events for the League of Cities and the MPO, and I see here I just got invited to Broward Days in March to support the Broward County delegation in Tallahassee. So those of us that are out there, and we're all out there, are here to help. So we're out there. That's all.
Speaking of things to be invited to, Bears, I've spoken to the representative at Bears in October the 1st. I know we have a workshop here, but 9:30, they will be doing a breast cancer presentation. I think they're giving $100,000 over to the charity, and they're painting their building pink, and they wanted us all in attendance. They're sending out a press release.
When?
Bears Furniture. They've done the breast cancer drive, and they're cutting a check for $100,000, and they wanted us to be there to help them celebrate it. They're going to have representatives come down from Susan G. Komen, and they wanted us to be there, and so I'm inviting us all and Raquel and the CRA to go there at 9:30 just for about 15, 20 minutes. I expressed to them that we needed to be done by 10 o'clock because we have a workshop here. And so especially when I told them that we have survivors that are on this dais, how important it would be for you all to be in attendance there too. And so this is me giving you your first invitation, then I'm going to turn it over to Raquel and have her do it all, because I think that someone will have to do some speaking there. And so that is October the 1st. That's Monday. This Monday coming up at 9:30.
You'll send us reminders, right? Raquel?
Raquel.
Yes.
I wanted to know what was going on with the class and pay. We still haven't gotten anything on that in the auditor situation.
I was going to ask those questions. I forgot.
Mayor, first the class and pay. They sent us back some more questions that we had to answer. Just clarifying some issues. They found some issues or inconsistencies. So I spoke with them today, and they should have it to us tomorrow or the next day, but definitely by the end of the week.
Because
we'll
it's
have it
like
completed.
5 months late. I think we were slated to have it in May. It's almost October, so we'll be able to have something that we can look at the commission before we, maybe at the end of this week, because we'll have to come back. You said we have to discuss it at the commission meeting, correct?
Well, speaking with the city manager, I think it would be, we would want to meet with you individually just to go over it, to show you the components, and then we can set a meeting to discuss it about how you want to implement it or what it means. so we can set those meetings up. As soon as we get it back, I'll have Chris set up individual meetings with you to go through the study.
Okay, Commissioner Grace?
Yeah, I wanted to ask, I know Nikki's not here, where are we with the RFP for the auditor?
Where we are is that Nikki had sent out, had sent out and read the RFP through the whole audit committee. They've put their comments together. The comments are all now back, and the attorney's office is going and incorporating those comments in the RFP, and that should be issued by the end of the week, I would assume. Thomas had some, he can speak, but his staff is out, so assuming she's back, she can get the RFP out, but
I expect it to be finalized tomorrow.
And will that be brought back to us by the next meeting, or what?
If you want to see what the documents are,
No, it could just go
what
out.
happens is that it gets issued, but if you want to see it before it goes out, I think now we're in time crunch, so we can issue it like we ordinarily would through the city
Okay.
clerk, but
All right.
give you copies so you can see what
No,
they say.
Just go ahead and issue it.
Okay.
Okay.
That's it for me. Appointments, fire, police,
I have somebody for the mayor.
Police and Fire Pension Board.
Yes, I do. I have Dean Harley, professor of math at Broward College, Dania Beach resident, has offered to step up into that position.
Very good. Very good.
It's only for a few months.
I'll get you the information, Tom.
I'll
He
make
knows.
that a
I told him
motion.
I told him it was a 6-month gig because I told him it was over, and he said he would do it. He said if he liked it and
He
he
would
wanted
continue.
reappointment, then maybe he could reappoint it.
It expires in March, but we can also always reappoint them. Okay.
I'll get Tom the.
Do we have a motion?
I
to-
did. I made a motion.
Second?
Second it.
All in favor?
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Okay, administrative reports?
Colin Donnelly, Assistant City Manager. I just want to remind the public that on October 2nd, 3rd, and 4th, we'll be holding public hearings at Frost Park, C.W. Thomas Park, and P.J. Milley for our Parks Master Plan from 7 to 8:30. The information's on the calendar on the website. If you're interested in the future of the parks, please show up and participate. Secondly, we have an Oasis cleanup scheduled. I know you have a busy schedule, but for Veterans Day, considering how successful it was last Veterans Day, we're looking to have one to make up for the spring cleaning, the spring one that was canceled on Veterans Day.
On Veterans Day?
Yes, from 9 to 2.
Is that gonna, where's it gonna be?
It's going to be over in the College Gardens area where the spring one was supposed to be.
Is it gonna be Chesterburg Park? No?
Yes.
Okay. And what times is the event for the veterans?
11. It's at 11, and we have a grand opening that day that I have to get back with you and tell you.
Well.
Hold on one second, I can tell you who it's from.
There's three.
TJ Maxx.
I think
TJ Maxx grand opening is on November the 11th,
No, I thought it was the
Veterans
30th.
Day.
TJ Maxx, I thought it was the September 30th.
They must have changed it. I have TJ Maxx on the 30th too.
Yeah, that's when it's
TJ
observed.
Maxx I have on the 30th of September,
Oh,
no?
I don't know. I have Rebecca Machung told me it was on the 11th, unless they switched it.
I have it on the 30th Sunday.
It's on the 11th, right? Okay, it's on the 11th.
Did they change it, Bill?
It's on their official TJX company corporation website, it does show.
They sent it to us from here.
So I have it on the 30th of September. I need to take that out then.
Good, now I can go away for the weekend.
Yeah.
I don't know what time it is. I don't know what time the grand opening is. The one that's on September, yeah, I have one. I think she
Don't
may
you
have.
have TJ Maxx on the 30th?
I have TJ Maxx on the 30th, and I have it on the 11th.
She's got it on the 30th too.
It's on the 30th? That's what I have.
All right, can we?
Well, we'll confirm.
Confirm tomorrow, yeah.
We'll confirm. Where were we? City manager, city?
No other comments, Mayor.
Okay. City attorney?
With Mr. Book's presentation, I know a couple of you don't know him very well, but his offer tonight is to meet with you whenever you wish to do that. I never reach to him directly. I go through his assistant, Rana, and then she always gets back and I get a hold of him. but he will come, he's willing to come here and meet with you. I know a couple of you would like to meet with him. If I can help you do that, I'm very happy to do that. And the offer is open anytime. Thank you.
City Clerk?
Couple meeting reminders. Coming up Monday, October 1st at 10:30 a.m. is your CRA workshop. Tuesday, October 9 at 5:30 is your CRA board meeting, followed by the City Commission meeting at 7 p.m. That's all.
Is it, do you want us, I mean,
can't make the first,
you can't make the first?
not the October 1st, right, Carol? Can't make it.
I don't, are we going to be making any decisions here? No, no decision be made, just,
There's not even a contract yet, it's just a discussion.
yeah, it's just to discuss things.
That's okay.
What
Yeah,
would
you're
you,
fine.
is it okay if, what would you like?
Whatever,
I mean, we're just going to discuss, no decisions are going to be made
yeah,
without
right,
you.
whatever the will of the board is, but I know I can't make that date.
Okay, so we'll excuse you, don't worry about it.
Okay. All right, meeting adjourned.
Hey, Tamara got my shirts. Got my shirts.